Yeah, they tell you that you should quit trying. You were too small, that you were too young. They tell you the chance is too slim, the world is too big, but you say, how come? I'm ready to light a new fire, raise a new flag to cross a new sea. And if I'm ever the one in your way, then put your head down and run right through me. I keep settling for so much less. Don't take what's given, just demand what's next. We're looking for an open door, so we didn't see before. So we get out of here, plot twist that we didn't see coming. We're looking for an open door, so we didn't see before. And when we get out of here, we'll never stop running. It's something like a shadow in the valley, colossal. Open up your eyes, young one, and be watchful. Behind closed doors, trying to write a new gospel. They are not God, they're not even apostles. I come with the dumb drum banging you breathless. Enemies freeze, left bent and defenseless. Straight for the chest of anybody against us. The more they resist it, the more that they tempt us. I keep settling for so much less. Don't take what's given, just demand what's next. We're looking for an open door, so we didn't see before. So we get out of here, plot twist that we didn't see coming. We're looking for an open door, so we didn't see before. And when we get out of here, we'll take off and never stop running. So I keep settling for so much less. Man, what's next? We're looking for an open door, so we didn't see before. So we get out of here, plot twist that we didn't see coming. We're looking for an open door, so we didn't see before. And when we get out of here, we'll take off and never stop running. No, no, we'll never stop running. No, no, we'll never stop running. When we get that open door, no, no, we'll never stop running. No, no, we'll never stop running. No, no, we'll never stop running. When we get that open door, no, no, we'll never stop running.
Okay, there we go. Sorry, my mic unplugged for a second there. I do apologize. All right, let's talk about this. This was one ridiculous game. A lot of things were not going the Timberwolves' way in this one. They lost Anthony Edwards early in the game. Okay, that's their superstar, and Anthony Edwards has been fantastic this season. So their superstar is out. They obviously are not playing with Karl Anthony Towns, but this Timberwolves team was winning against this Bulls team in the second quarter by, I believe, 15 at one point. It just was looking pretty bad throughout the entire game for this Bulls team. I don't like Casey Johnson. He had a tweet saying like this Bulls team looks like they're lacking urgency, and I'm not gonna go out and say like they're lacking urgency like all the way out there, but what I will say is this: I thought this Bulls team, especially in that first half, was just god awful on offense. I thought defensively there wasn't too much of an issue. I know 32 points to the Timberwolves isn't ideal in the first quarter, but it was only 27 in the second quarter. So I'm looking at this and I'm like, the defense isn't awful. I'm not saying it's great either, but what bothered me the most was I was just watching this offense just crumble. And we saw guys start to force some shots. We saw guys start like pressing, and then then it gets to the point where we see guys start passing up open threes, and that was pretty bad. Third quarter comes around, and I thought the Bulls, they won that quarter. I thought they were going to win that quarter, thanks to DeRozan and Levine just putting up points in that quarter. But then they end up losing that quarter by 5. So then you were at halftime down by 5. You go into the fourth quarter down by 10, and somehow you were able to get this game tied. I don't know how the hell you did this, but they are missing Anthony Edwards, and the Timberwolves are known to have blown leads. So, credit the big three this game. This was the definition of the big three carrying this team. And talk about an exciting game. The unfortunate part about this is what I'm thinking about right now is the Bulls play tomorrow and they play Miami. Like, that's all I can think about right now is that good job getting this win, because my God, if you did not get this win, this would look awful for you guys moving forward. But you got this win. Luckily you did, because Miami's coming to town tomorrow. And it's a back-to-back, second game of a back-to-back. So that's going to suck for this Bulls team, but we got to be ready for it. But good job by the Bulls to close this one out. We have a lot to discuss in this stream. This won't be a very long stream, but we're going to get through this as quickly as possible together here, because I don't know if you guys saw my post. I'm in the middle of finals week, so I am very tired and I got work to do still. But gotta talk about this game with you guys, and then we can enjoy our weekend with a lot of March Madness and a lot of Bulls stuff coming up here. All right, quick look at the box score. I've given DeMar DeRozan a lot of crap on this channel, right? And I am gonna continue to say that I am not the biggest fan of his mid-range shots, especially the ones where the offense kind of slows down a lot, and suddenly the Bulls are very bad in pace, and I think a lot of it's due to him. But this was a humongous game from DeRozan. I have to give DeRozan a lot of credit here, because he was really starting to pick up the offense in that second half, obviously, but I was looking at that third quarter when the Bulls desperately needed points. He came through. And if DeRozan is hot, then yes, you absolutely just ride with him, and the Bulls did that for a good portion of the night. Awesome game from DeRozan. He did a lot in this one, including playing the entire fourth quarter and all of overtime. So, or I think that's what it was. But just incredible game from DeRozan. It's starting to look like he's kind of getting back to his normal form, because I've been saying that I think since he kind of messed up his ham or his quad in that Boston game, that he hasn't really truly been 100% since. And then he had to sit out a few more games even a little bit later in the season. But I think he's finally starting to look like DeRozan again. Which I don't know exactly if that's a good or bad thing. I'm going to say it's overall a good thing. I'm just not a big fan of shot selection, but he was draining shots all night tonight. Big props to him, because my God, the Bulls just need some form of offense. Even though his shot is not the most efficient, he was draining them, which then you go ahead and ride them. Zach turned it on in that second half. I was a little concerned with Zach in that first half, but I thought Zach was making some nice passes in that first half. But I need him to be more aggressive in general through two quarters. I was more so upset, though, in that second quarter, where I thought Zach was not being featured when the Bulls were trying to deal with the zone. And I'm like, okay, the zone is legit supposed to be taking away the paint and taking away the mid-range, right? So how about we give it to the one dude that can actually shoot the ball, and let him try to figure out the zone, which eventually the Bulls got it to him late in the second quarter. But then second half for Zach, I don't know what happened in that halftime locker room, but DeRozan put up, I believe, 35 points in the second half, and Zach put up 29. Talk about the two stars just straight up just carrying this Bulls offense. I would like to kind of see, how many points the Bulls scored in that second half and how much of it was just DeRozan and Levine. And then Vucevic, he had a very, very rough third quarter. Good overall start for him, but he came through in the end, which was huge, with some big time shots in both overtimes, including that ferocious dunk that we saw at the end, which might be the dunk of the year for this Bulls team. These three guys, you want to talk about carry job? If I heard this correctly, these three guys here, they combined for 102 of the 139 points. I could be doing my math wrong here. but they straight up just carry this team. This was just a straight carry job by these guys, and they deserve a ton of credit for what they did tonight. You want to talk about playing with desperation? Well, give it to your best players and just pray to God that they're going to come through, and they did. Because my goodness, did they come through? This was insane to watch. I'm not exactly thrilled with this performance though, because again, Anthony Edwards did leave after 8 minutes into the game. This was a very, very sad thing to see. Anthony Edwards has had a fantastic season. But this Bulls team was down throughout most of this game, even without Edwards on the floor. They're obviously missing Cat, and we just saw a bunch of guys, including Mike Conley, just kill us when it just wasn't. That's just not supposed to happen. And a lot of it was because the Timberwolves getting transition opportunities off of our misses, and this Bulls offense was just absolutely sucking in that first half, and it's so annoying to watch. So first half overall, the Bulls shot 48%, which isn't horrible, but we just saw mostly in that second quarter where the Bulls really started to struggle. Just some misses that needed to go down, some shots that weren't taken that resulted in the turnovers, and Bulls somehow were able to not fall too far behind. Second half, the Bulls actually shot 45%, so it's even worse. But we just saw, again, it was just DeRozan, LaVine, and a little bit of Vooch. So yeah, credit the big three tonight if you want to call him a big three. My God, man, this is just insane to watch this one. What's going on, Magula? I don't blame you for turning off once the fourth quarter started, because I wasn't feeling good about that fourth quarter either. Hey, all we needed is DeMar, Zach, and Vooch combined for 109 points to win in double OT, and Wolves team without Cat and Ant. Let's go. It's a shot charts that go on with the same ish we have been. Yeah, this is the thing that I'm like. This was quite the game for this Bulls team, and I'm glad they got the win. But hell, like, this Bulls team looked awful with Anthony Edwards getting hurt and cannot play for the rest of the game, with Karl-Anthony Towns not playing, and this Minnesota Timberwolves team doesn't, like, without Anthony Edwards, like, I know Gobert is an all-star, but like, I don't really see anyone else out here that I'm like, oh yeah, they can take over this game. And then Mike Conley just is draining threes left and right, and he can't be stopped. And I'm like, my God, come on. So it just shows you, like, good job getting this win, but let's also be real. This is not a great performance by this Bulls team whatsoever. They barely got this win in double overtime when Anthony Edwards got injured early, no Cat, and Rudy Gobert fouled out in OT. Like, that's not good whatsoever. So I'm glad they got the win. I'm just thinking to myself, holy, this was not a good performance whatsoever. And this Bulls team, and we as Bulls fans need to just understand that. And guess what? We got Miami coming tomorrow. So it's just, yeah, it's just overall bad. Well, all I can say is about this game. Yeah, that's all I can say as well. Wish P. Will showed up. I wish P. Will also showed up. I'm also going to blame Billy for this one a little bit, because I thought Patrick Williams should have probably been in the game to close this one, because I thought he played pretty well. He was guarding and was doing a really good job defensively. And was just a little bit more aggressive, but he decided to close with Patrick Beverley over P. Will, and I don't really know about that decision. It worked, I guess, but yeah, not a fan of that one. I'll say that. But yeah, we're gonna talk about Billy in a little bit here. Gobert 9 offensive rebounds in 33 minutes, 2 less than a total of Vooch in 46. Yeah, so this is the whole thing. I'm gonna get into some of the hustle stats in a second here, but like, let's just look at a few things, like in just the Timberwolves box score. Okay, first off, 18 of 42 from 3-point range. This is a high percentage. All right, that's 43%. They're shooting threes left and right. They're draining them. All right, that's not good. Luckily for the Bulls, they missed 10 free throws, which is huge. And obviously, if they just make one more, they win this game probably and not have to go into overtime. They also had 14 offensive rebounds. That just straight up cannot happen if you're the Chicago Bulls, okay? I understand Rudy Gobert is a very good offensive rebounding big. I get it. But this number right here is too high, and I thought Vucevic was getting destroyed by Gobert, especially in that fourth quarter. And that it just can't happen. And like, it's not just on Vooch, because it has to be a rebound by committee, but it's also, I thought Vooch was not boxing him out well enough. And yeah, there's just stuff that has to be better with this Bulls team. Now, going over to the game charts here, this is where I'm always looking at. So the Bulls did something correct for once, and it's finally starting to show up where they're really addressing, like, okay, we're not shooting threes, then you have to get to the paint. Like this is just a necessary thing for this Bulls team. Granted, let's remember that this took an extra 10 minutes to get this number, so maybe this is a little bit skewed, but I'm glad to see that they're at least attacking the paint and not just be settling for mid-range the entire time. Like I said, though, if you're not going to shoot the three ball, if you're not going to be making threes, you have to get the other most efficient shot on the court, which is this one in the paint. So, Bulls, they had 60 points in the paint compared to the Minnesota Timberwolves 50. Good. Second chance opportunities, though, this is where the Bulls got killed for a good amount of the game. Minnesota won this, and they were leading for a good long time. And then fast break points, I think the Bulls ended up getting the advantage in OT, but, like, yeah, we saw Minnesota, I think, in general, just in transition in general, like, not just fast break points, but just in general transition, take advantage more than the Bulls did. And I thought the Bulls did a poor job of running it down court before Rudy Gobert could get set that back there. But it ended up working out in the end. So, I don't know. Just kind of overall odd. All right, let's just look at this, okay? So, this is the part that I'm always screaming at, and, like, you know, Box said it, and, like, everyone that watches this is always going to be, everyone that watches my channel is going to be hearing this. But this is the stuff that I'm just like, yikes. These shots here just, it makes me cringe. I know that DeMar DeRozan's on a heater. If DeMar DeRozan's on a heater, you just let him do his thing. Don't worry about it. But DeRozan was not on a heater in that first half, so let's just go to the first half for the start, right? So, first half here for the Chicago Bulls. Like, we're seeing a decent amount of misses here in that first half, and the Bulls, through 3 quarters, okay, were 6 of 16 from three-point range, and the Minnesota Timberwolves were 13 of 28. Like, it just was a big difference through 3 quarters, and that was a big difference in this game. The Bulls, after 1 quarter, okay, they were 2 of 4 from three-point range. The Minnesota Timberwolves made 7 threes and 11 shots in the first quarter. The Bulls and Minnesota Timberwolves both made 11 shots, right? The Bulls had made 1 more free throw than the Minnesota Timberwolves, and the Bulls were down by 4. That's the reason why I am stressing that the shot selection just has to be better with this team. It just straight up has to, right? And seeing the Bulls be down, right, by 4 points, and it's because the Minnesota Timberwolves have made 5 more threes in the quarter compared to the Bulls. Again, they made the same amount of shots. The Bulls had 1 more made free throw than the Timberwolves in the first quarter, and the Bulls were down by 4. That is just straight up awful to see. So that's something that just needs to get addressed, and it's going to have to come in the offseason. But I'm going to continue to stress this, because the shot selection, and I'm not talking about taking a contested shot versus an open shot, I am talking about making sure that you're taking the most efficient shot on the court possible, which is obviously 3-point range and getting shots at the rim. Prioritize that. There's always a time for the mid-range, especially in down the stretch, which I'm going to get to in a little bit here. But in the first quarter, it's not crunch time yet. So I need you to be shooting the right shots, and the Bulls, you know, few too many mid-range here in that first quarter. So yeah, just has to be better. But I'm going to give credit to DeRozan for knocking down all these mid-range shots in the second half. A lot of these shots in the mid-range were just DeRozan doing his thing. Yeah, I'm going to give him credit. It's still, again, I'm not the biggest fan of the mid-range, especially when it's not crunch time, but overall, just good to see. Now, second half, though, just look at this. Like, this was ridiculous by the Bulls. They shot 60% in that second half for the Bulls. That's just, you know, it's already insane to look at, but I preach this because they shot 49% in the first half, and then second half, they shot this high percentage. That's not normal, right? And the Bulls were just barely able to win this, right? So if you're going to shoot 60% in a half, I would like for you to really dominate that half, and the Bulls did not really dominate that half. So, again, shot selection. It's huge. It's a huge part of this game that I'm always looking at. But again, I'm going to give credit to the big 3. All right. Going over to the chat again. What's going on, MC Season? Good to see you. Jump on, call at me, fuming. Oh, we're going to get into everything, man. We're going to talk about everything. Gobert even sized up Vooch up and beat him out dribble one position. That right there was comedy gold. Yeah. Despite DeMar having a monster game, he stopped transition / fast breaks where 3v2s, etc. Too many times to slow it down, and a lot of Wolves actually set up their defense. Yeah, I agree with that. I'm mostly looking at the first half, though. I'm going to be nice to with DeRozan. Like, again, he had a phenomenal game. The Bulls don't win this without him. But that first half, I thought the Bulls, in general, it's not just him, but I thought the Bulls, in that first half, they had to get more transition opportunities or convert on transition opportunities, because when Gobert is back there, right, he's gonna block your shot. You can't. It's hard to get into the paint, right? But if Gobert is running down the court still in transition, then that's your time. And I thought the Bulls way too many times decided on, even if it's like, let's just say it's a 3v3 fast break for this Bulls team, right? If I have Zach out there on the court, like, I think I have the advantage in a 3v3 fast break because I have Zach LaVine, okay? So there are just too many times, in my opinion, that I saw this Bulls team slow down when I thought they should have been running as hard as they could and try to at least try. I'm not saying 100%, just at least try to get a shot in the paint in transition, right? I'm not saying it's a guaranteed thing, but I'm just saying try. And if they try and have to pull it back out, that's fine. It's just I want to see them attempt to do such a thing, and they didn't do that, right? But second half, it was a little bit better. We saw, especially Zach, just kind of be like, okay, just give me the ball. We're just going to go, which is a little bit better. But I do think, unfortunately, in that first half, DeRozan was a big part of why the Bulls were not running in transition. They had to do a much better job at doing that. So, again, that's just the first half critique I have. It's just something I'm always going to have with this Bulls team because, as Adam Amin said in the broadcast, we are second to last in pace, and that is something that is just not going to fly in today's world. Less off in the first quarter shot share because we only took 3 to 4 mid-range. We mostly went down low. So shot the minimum amount of threes, but hey, at least we didn't get shot the mid-range to oblivion. Yeah, that is true. The first quarter, I will say the Bulls were more so attacking the paint, right? As you can see here, just not enough threes in my opinion. But this is where things get bad. It's like this is the second quarter here. It's like, no, we don't need to do this. This isn't necessary. Let's not do that. And it was just kind of that way throughout the rest of the game. See, mid-range everywhere. Fourth quarter, I just kind of I allowed them to kind of do whatever in the fourth. It's like DeRozan and Zach. I try to like be hands off on that because I do think that the fourth quarter is a different animal. It's crunch time. It's defense is locked in. Their main priority in that fourth quarter is to not let you score in the paint. That is like the biggest thing in that fourth quarter. So seeing these mid-range shots, for example, here, I'm like, I can live with it. It's fourth quarter, it's crunch time. It's tough. You're facing Rudy Gobert. Like I can live with that sort of stuff. But yeah, this right here, this is unacceptable to me in the second quarter. So yeah, and as I said, mid-range shots, there's always a time and place. It's not, it just should not be your main priority. I always say the fourth quarter, I'm fine with the fourth quarter with those guys taking those mid-range shots. I think it's probably the best shot because the fourth quarter, the officials swallow their whistle. They don't call things at the rim. And if you're facing Rudy Gobert, you're not going to be able to get a good clean look at the rim. So fourth quarter, I'm just like, okay, yeah, if you need to shoot the mid-range in the fourth quarter, which we saw a lot of, fine, you go ahead and do that. That's completely fine with me. But it's the first 3 quarters is where I really start to lose my mind because that second quarter for this Bulls team was not looking good, right? A lot of misses just kind of everywhere, including at the basket, but then we saw some mid-range attempts that I'm just like, we don't need that. But yeah, Bulls just had a blistering second half to make up for it overall. Let's see. Imagine if we gave Vooch a head of steam facing the bucket more often. You mean like a pick and roll play, right? I agree with you. I think that the Bulls should 100% be running more pick and rolls with Vooch instead of him doing the whole back to the basket post ups. But I don't know, man. It's something with Billy Donovan that he just doesn't exactly want to do that. He wants Vooch to fade more. Maybe that's just Vooch. I don't know. I do think though that unfortunately, because this Bulls team lacks 3-point shooting, that Vooch has to be on the perimeter more, and just exactly how it is. What do you think of Billy's adjustments? So I've said this all season. I think Billy Donovan defensively has done a good job. Like I truly think that Billy Donovan on the defensive end has done a good job with this team. I don't know why people can I'm hearing this still on the broadcast. I'm hearing it on pregame and postgame by Kendall Gill and all these people. Like I don't understand why everyone keeps saying that this Bulls team still does not play defense. Okay, it truly does. It just makes me just lose my mind when I hear this sort of thing, and then it's like, oh, that's the reason why this Bulls team's losing. This Bulls team came into this game ranked 5th defensively. This Bulls team defensively has been really good all season, okay? I know the beginning of the season was a whole different thing where the Bulls were in the 20s defensively, but since basically December, this Bulls team has been very good defensively, and there's nothing else to really say about it. So in this game, I thought Billy Donovan, in terms of defensive adjustments, was actually doing a pretty decent job. We saw the Bulls do a better job of running guys off the three-point line in that second half. I thought the Bulls in the second half were doing a really good job of switching better, because in that first half they weren't doing that. They were not switching when I thought they could switch some things. I also like what Billy Donovan did in bringing in Derrick Jones Jr. when the Timberwolves went completely small, right? And we saw that Drummond can't handle guarding Naz Reid, right? So instead of putting Drummond out there for the start of the fourth quarter, he put Derrick Jones Jr. out there. And to me, that was more defensively than offensively. And I thought that was the right decision. I think Billy Donovan did a good job with that. Now, what I'm going to say is this, though. Offensively, this Bulls team has been one of the worst teams offensively this entire all season, okay? We're talking in the bottom third of the league offensively. This is the part that I have been stressing all season, and everyone keeps saying, well, the Bulls, they suck because they can't play defense. We can score on any team. Well, if we could score on any team, then we would not be ranked 24th offensively, okay? This is the part that I don't think people are understanding with this Bulls team. This Bulls team sucks on offense. It is one of the worst offenses in the league. We average the least amount of three-point attempts in the league. We average the most mid-range attempts in the league. This is the part that I can't let Billy Donovan off the hook. I just straight up can't. And when I'm watching this Bulls offense, specifically in that second quarter, okay, where we are getting zoned up by the Minnesota Timberwolves, okay, and nothing is working. Absolutely nothing is going right when the Timberwolves are zoning us up. Like, the Timberwolves are basically doing everything that they want to against us by just playing zone defense, which should not be the case. But this is where I'm like, Billy Donovan, you got to make adjustments. You have to do better. And I don't think he really did anything. I think that the Bulls failed to give it to Zach LaVine in that second quarter when the Timberwolves were zoning us up. Because one of the things that you can do against the zone is you can shoot yourself out of the zone, right? That is something that is well known in the NBA. So you got to shoot yourself out of the zone. And if there's a guy that's going to do that, it's Zach, okay? There's also another thing with Zach where I'm like, hey, we got one of the best cutters in the league. Zach LaVine is one of the best cutters in the league. And I can think of plays where I'm like, look, man, if the Timberwolves are going to zone us up, then I got to get Zach LaVine on the move. Make him shift the defense around because they can't let him be wide open. Billy didn't do that. We saw that the Timberwolves were willing to live and die by that zone, and it was working out great for that Timberwolves team. Luckily for us, they decided not to continue the zone, especially down the stretch, and that's, I think, kind of shows you that Chris Finch is a horrible coach, because I've been saying this for a while about Chris Finch. I think Chris Finch is an awful coach. I hated the way he was hired. I hated the way that the Timberwolves basically had someone kind of set in stone already before even doing, after they fired I forget who the last coach was, but it just, everything, that the way that Chris Finch was hired, I hated it. And I think Chris Finch did a horrible job in the playoffs last season, and the Timberwolves should have honestly won that series against Memphis. But anyway, I just think that Chris Finch is an awful coach, and he, I think, kind of played himself tonight by not running that zone a little bit more. And this was specifically, though, I'm talking about like that third quarter where DeRozan started to get hot. I think that they could have went back to that zone a little bit and slowed DeRozan down, but they didn't. And luckily for us, like, if you're going to tell me that Billy Donovan really made adjustments on the offensive end, like, I'm going to just say that I think what happened was that DeMar DeRozan and Zach LaVine, they got hot, they took over, and they did exactly what we needed, right, to win this game, which required a ridiculous performance from DeRozan, a great performance from Zach. That's it. I don't really see much of an adjustment by Billy. I don't see on the offensive end. So I am not a coach. I'm not in the timeouts. I'm not in the halftime locker room. It's just, when I'm watching this Bulls team, I have been seeing this Bulls team suck on offense this entire season, and we're still sucking on offense no matter what game it is. It's just how it goes. And honestly, what people don't understand is that what gets us our wins is because we play goddamn good defense. Okay, I just think that this Bulls team is so close to actually being like an actual good team. Like, if we have a top 5 defense in the league, for God's sake, like, I would wish then at least we would be a top 15 offense, but we're not. And if we were just that, we would definitely not be down at the number 10 seed right now. We would for sure be at least number 7, okay, with an over 500 record. This is the part that I'm just like, Billy, look, man, I think that Zach LaVine is one of the most talented scorers we have in today's game. I'm not saying he's a superstar, but I'm saying in terms of offensive skills, his offensive game, you got to do better. This is a guy that I feel like should be averaging 27 easily, and it's because I don't think he can do it because he's not allowed to shoot as many threes as he wants to. So it's just me nitpicking, but I don't even know if I should even say that because again, we're down here. Like we're at the level of Orlando, Miami, Detroit, Houston, San Antonio's. Like these are rebuilding teams except for Miami, right? These teams down here, these are rebuilding teams, and we're at this level of an offense right now. This is awful, okay? And I'm sick of looking at this, but again, DeRozan and LaVine tonight, they just took over. So last thing, okay? I said it. Bulls, in terms of 3-point attempts, they're dead last, right? Atlanta's right here, but we're dead last, okay? In terms of paint points per game, the Bulls have been down at the bottom for a good amount of the season. And they're slowly going up now, but we're 19. We were down here in 25th for the first half of the year, okay? I said, if you're not going to shoot threes, you have to get to the paint. You have to score in the paint, okay? Memphis is not a great three-point shooting team, okay? But they get into the paint, right? Same thing with Oklahoma City, right? These guys, they're not like great three-point shooting teams. Like let's OKC's three-point percentage. Where is it? They actually shoot pretty good, honestly. Never mind. But no, they're in the middle of the pack. But let's just take, for example, a team like the Boston Celtics, okay? The Boston Celtics, for example, they take 42 threes a game, right? And they don't get into the paint. They're down here. That's fine. It's just that you have to. It's one or the other, right? If you're gonna dominate the 3-point line, then you don't have to get into the paint. Like same thing with Milwaukee. Like people kind of don't even realize this about Milwaukee, but like they shoot 40 threes per game. That's 4th in the league. They're down here in terms of paint points per game, right? But this is how it has to go. Now I think a good team to kind of look at is Denver, right? Denver doesn't shoot a lot of threes. This team shoots 31 attempts per game. That is in the bottom 5 in the league. But you see here, they're in the top league in paint points, right? Or they're top 5 in paint points. So when I criticize Billy, right, this is what I'm really criticizing him on, right? This is the stuff where I'm like, look, you changed this offense this offseason. You said that this offense had to change. Well, this offense went from 13th last season to 24th this season. It has gotten worse, okay? So I'm just saying, look, man, y'all got to do better. I'm aware that the offenses in this season have kind of exploded. Like, we're seeing many guys average 30 points per game. We're seeing a lot of offenses kind of set some records in terms of offensive rating. Look at the Kings, right? But, Billy, look, man, you have to adjust to the modern game. And this is where I'm criticizing Billy heavily, his offensive end. It's not defense. Defense, in my opinion, has been perfectly fine this season. Okay, and everyone just wants to say that this team sucks defensively because we have DeRozan, LaVine, and Vucevic. That's not the case. It's offense right now. So I wish that the offense was just so much better. But yeah, credit DeRozan and LaVine again tonight. They legit just hit some crazy shots, and that's what saved the offense tonight. So yeah. Let's see here. How the Bulls trade DeMar for some good role pieces. Not impressed with the bench at all. I am also not impressed with the bench, and I thought that the bench did not play well at all. I know a lot of Bulls fans have been really, really praising Kobe White this season, but I'm just going to say this, guys. I'm not exactly that impressed by Kobe. Like, I do think that he has worked on his handles, and he has played better defense overall, but these numbers, just saying, these aren't good numbers, right? These numbers look pretty bad. He's shooting right now 36% from 3-point range, which isn't exactly, that's average. That's league average, all right? He's shooting 41% from the field, but only 8.7 points per game. That just isn't going to cut it. So I do think that he's probably going to be brought back, but I'm not exactly that impressed. I'll just say that. There are nights he does play well. It's not consistent enough for me. And I hope he can get to that consistency level. But yeah, the bench needs to do better. They have to. We got a team that's built for an actual big three made of superstars, but instead of a superstar big three, we have fringe all-star mid three surrounded by small dudes that can't defend but can't shoot or score. Yeah. Turns out that two of these three dudes aren't really modern day all-stars. They can't support this type of modern NBA basketball in a winning team environment where we want to contend. Yeah. Yeah, it got tough when they started doubling that. Yeah, it did get tough. And like this is the part where I'm like, I'm aware Lonzo's out, but like this Bulls team definitely needs a point guard, because if they're double teaming Zach, then like the way to get Zach the ball then is if you run plays for him, right? If you run plays, then it allows you to still get Zach the ball without him having to have the ball initially, and he can still get his shots up. But yeah, it is what it is. Ryan Saunders, it wasn't Ryan Saunders. I'm honestly blanking, but I think it was Ryan Saunders. Yeah, it was Ryan Saunders. You're right, Magula. Yeah. Which, by the way, I don't think Ryan Saunders is a bad coach. I don't think he's a great coach, but it just, I don't like Chris Finch. I think Chris Finch is just a terrible coach. But that I'm not here to talk about the Wolves or Timberwolves. I'm here to talk about the Bulls. Cherry on top, truly mid/low coach and Billy Donovan, 2 amount plays with 0.1 and 0.2 in OT. No matter how low our chances is. What's up with the lineup with small guys or guys that can't jump when all you can do is an oop or hope for a tip in? Yeah. So this is the part where I'm just gonna say this: the 0.1, the first initial attempt for Billy Donovan with that inbounds play with 0.1. I'm not gonna blame Billy on that one. Caruso got his thing tipped in. It looked like a lob for Zach, which is the right play, right? So I'm not gonna say anything about that one. Now the second one, I was confused as hell. I don't know what that play was, and we're gonna watch it back. But yeah, I truly don't know. Yeah. Aiming for Vooch, Bev, and DeMar, like any of them could jump in the situation, was laughable. Was Billy expecting the Wolves to tip it in themselves? Chances are low, but take them. Can't just have Vooch to the inbound throw. P. Will, Derek Jones Jr., Zach, and Drummond in there and run something that at least makes sense. So I wouldn't necessarily put like Drummond in there in a sense. I would have Vooch either inbound or be under the basket, right? But I agree with you that Patrick Williams should have probably been out there. I don't understand why Patrick Beverley's out there in that situation, but yeah. He didn't lie. The offense did change from 13th to 24th. Is a change. Billy didn't lie. He did say the offense is going to change for the better or worse. He just said it's going to change. Yeah. I mean, I guess he technically didn't lie. Do you agree DeMar should be traded next season? I do. I think that DeMar DeRozan needs to get traded, because this Bulls team, as I've said, this Bulls team has been so analytically inefficient this entire season, right? The offense sucks, okay? And DeMar DeRozan is not getting any younger. He's just going to continue to get older. And I think that with this Bulls team, just to at least adjust to the modern day, you got to trade DeRozan. You just straight up have to. You have to trade him now, because if you're just going to ride this out with him, then what you're going to see is this team is legit going to be stuck in the bottom 20s in offense every single time. And the reason why is because we depend on DeRozan to do a lot, right? DeRozan is the number one scorer on this team in terms of points per game currently. Zach is like right behind him right now. But like, we depend on DeRozan to be either the number one option or the number two, okay? And if you're going to depend on a guy who has an analytically inefficient game, your offense is just going to struggle, okay? That's the reason why I'm like, look, I think DeMar DeRozan can be on a winning team if he is like the third option on offense, okay? And that does not mean that he is the third best player on the team. It just means that he's the third best. He's just the third option on offense, where the team just does not rely on him, right? But the Bulls rely on him too heavily, so that we see, games where it's like we shoot 60% from the field, but we barely break the 100-point mark because we're taking mid-range. We're just straight up taking inefficient shots. So I appreciate what DeRozan has done here. He had a historical season last season, okay? And then this year, he's had a very solid season this year, but you're seeing the problem with having him be like a number one, right? I'm not saying that Zach is a number one. I don't think Zach's a number one either. I just think I think Zach's a number two. But we have to get to more modern day basketball. I've been saying that the Bulls have been stuck in the 90s. It just straight up looks like it. And I've been saying that Bulls fans, they need a software update, because I see a lot of Bulls fans are like, yeah, take the mid-range. That's a good shot. When I'm like, guys, You want to know why we're blowing leads and we can't come back in games? It's because we take mid-range to death. And we came back in this one because we shot ridiculous percentage from the field, right? Quarter 4, we shot 61%. That's not normal, right? So I really question Bulls fans when they say, no, mid-range is good. I'm like, no, let's not say that. Like, mid-range, there's always a time and place for it. I'm not saying to kill it, but to prioritize it, that's not good offense. And unfortunately, we have DeMar DeRozan, who basically lives by the mid-range, and then we have Vucevic, who takes more mid-range shots than threes. That is backwards. It just straight up is, and I don't like seeing it. So, yeah. To answer your question, MC Season, yeah, I want DeRozan gone. We should try to get back some value for DeMar this trade deadline. Yeah, we should have, but we didn't. I don't know why. Hopefully get something in offseason, although I believe From's going to run it back again. They'll just double down with their decisions again. I hope they won't, but my hopes aren't high. I also am not trusting this front office. I'll say that right now. I don't trust that. Here's what I do think is going to happen. I do think that there will be some sort of change to the starting lineup. I'm talking like a major change where we're seeing at least one of the starters, right, is going to be different. Okay, and when I say that, I'm mostly looking at the point guard position because we're going to talk about Lonzo and his injury stuff a little bit here. But it's either going to be like the Bulls are going to have a new starting point guard, or it's going to be that the Bulls will have a new center because Vucevic won't re-sign. I question the front office's ability to actually trade DeRozan right now. And I think it's because they might value him too much. Because what I think is happening with DeRozan is that because of his age and because of his game, his play style, I don't think his value is very high around the league right now. I truly don't. I think DeRozan's value is pretty low because, again, mid-range master. He doesn't take efficient shots, and it just, obviously not a good defender. So I just think that the front office is like, they may be looking to trade DeRozan, but when they call around, they're like, okay, that's just not enough. When I'm like, look, man, you're not going to get a lot for him, right? I question how much value he has right now. I just don't think it's a lot. So, yeah, it is a kind of an awkward situation, I'll say, but it is what it is. We have to move on still, even if it doesn't even if it feels like we're not getting a good value in return. It's like it might just honestly, you might have to just accept it, right? So, yeah, not exactly looking too good. Moving forward, we've been trading threes for twos, and fans still thinking it's okay. We just need better something. They can't define what, just something. Yeah, those like the playoffs. They will for sure keep DeMar on the team, in my opinion. No, I mean continuity. They'll keep the continuity word. It is very odd. I'll say. I've said this before. I do think that continuity in the core, what they've said, it is a correct idea in terms of having a core that plays together for a while. The problem is that this core doesn't work, right? That this core is garbage. It doesn't work out, and so I tell them, I'm just like, look, man, this continuity sucks. This core sucks. We should not have continuity with this core. But you're right. They're probably gonna double down on the continuity argument, saying that DeRozan and LaVine need to play together still. Maybe Vooch leaves, and then they're just like, well, we're just going to still run it back. Who knows? And honestly, I will say this. If Vooch leaves and the Bulls somehow get a very efficient center that's a defensive-minded center, they might just be better just off of that. But I don't think it's going very far still. I still question how far this team will go, especially if no one else is going to be really brought in. So, yeah. People say we need a true PG like Lonzo. The thing is, Lonzo's not a prototypical PG. He never runs offense when the team slows it down half court. No, I agree. I've said that Lonzo is not a point guard necessarily, or your playmaking type point guard. Lonzo, in my opinion, is a 3-and-D mostly, right? 3-and-D wing. And his value on the offensive end is his three. People hate me for that. I've just said, though, that, look, Lonzo Ball does not bend the defense like a point guard you would like a point guard to do. So, last stream for us, I brought up Tyus Jones. I think Tyus Jones is the definition of a point guard, right? Or your prototypical playmaking point guard. And maybe he might be here on this Bulls team next season. We don't know. But, Yeah, that it's something that this Bulls team needs desperately because if you're depending on Levine and DeRozan to be not just your scorers but also your playmakers for others, it's not going to go down well. As we've seen, Levine, I guess specifically Levine, but also DeRozan should just be focused on scoring. Like I don't want them to be focused on passing and trying to play make. It's just going to ruin their game. So yeah, I want like an actual playmaking point guard that can set up these guys really, really well. But I don't know if the front office is going to do it. I question if they'd actually do it. And as Bach said, that's what Lonzo does, which is more of a wing, right? Point exact defense, 3-point shooting, right? Transition. That's more of a wing, but he plays the point guard position because he has great passing ability. Yeah, either way though, like Lonzo's not going to be here. Let's just be real. Lonzo's not going to be here. As we got notice about that. All right. This is probably honestly a good transition for the Lonzo Ball talk that I think we all need to have here. It is a very sad overall situation, I feel like, but I do want to talk about it and kind of have some time with you guys to talk about it. I did say this stream is not going to be like the typical 2 hours, but we're gonna see here. But let's talk about this Lonzo Ball stuff here because it is important to talk about, and then I'm going to give you one more person that I think the Bulls could potentially go after, and then I want to talk about a few other things after that. But this was released yesterday that Lonzo Ball is going to be out for the rest of the season, obviously, but then also more importantly was probably most of next season. Okay, now I think a lot of Bulls fans were like, "Oh my God, you gotta be kidding me! Like, are you serious? Like, is this actually true?" And yeah, it's true. And honestly, this is not a shocker to me. But it has been now documented that Lonzo Ball is going to get a cartilage transplant. I have looked up what a cartilage transplant is. It is very, very interesting. I'll say that. I am not a doctor, but at least from what I've read, the recovery time on that is pretty substantial. So the surgery itself is like not that severe. It's the recovery time. It's just going to take forever. So Lonzo is gonna the reason why he's gonna probably be out for most of next season is because of the recovery time. They're basically what they're gonna basically do is they're gonna take a piece of cartilage from a good healthy cartilage in his body, and then they're gonna grow cartilage cells somewhere in their lab, and then 6 to 8 weeks later they're gonna then take those cells and then put it into his knee that's hurting him, and then they're gonna hope that the cells grow in his knee and form a healthy cartilage again. The problem is that it takes forever for it to grow, right? Hence, it's probably going to take a whole year just to have the cells start growing fully and him gaining cartilage back in his knee. So there's that's going on with Lonzo. And honestly, man, I'm not even worried about him coming back to the court at this point. I'm just like, look, man, I know that he can't do just normal stuff right now in real life. I'm worried about quality of life for him, and if this is going to help him not have pain when he goes up the stairs, then awesome. We did that for him. I'm just going to say that I truly think that his career is in jeopardy right now. I think that his career is over. And if you're the Chicago Bulls, you need to act as if his career is over. If he comes back somehow, awesome. But you can't be just sitting around waiting for Lonzo Ball to return. Okay. So, as of right now, at least in my head, Lonzo's career is over. It sucks. I am not happy to say such a thing, and it brings me no pleasure. But this is how it has to go. It sucks, but here we are. I was also hold on, I'm gonna bring my Twitter over here again. I was also someone replied to one of my tweets, and I truly appreciate what this person had to tell me here. So I tweeted out saying, like, I'm not a doctor, but this is what's about to happen. And this guy named Zach Russell, I'm just gonna trust that he's telling the truth here. Who knows? But he had a cartilage transplant in October 2021, and he still says that as of today, and we're in March of 2023, that his knee still gives him issues still. So he says that it depends on the size of the lesion, obviously, which means that if Lonzo just has like no cartilage right now, it's looking pretty bad, right? But we'll see how this is all gonna work out with Lonzo. I hope it's going to really save his, honestly, just his overall quality of life. But obviously, I would hope it saves his career. But I don't know, man. It's not looking good. I'll just say that. It really is not looking good for Lonzo Ball moving forward. So I appreciate Zach giving this information. So just to kind of give you some sort of idea, this is what's about to happen. And I'm thinking very pessimistically for a reason. And that's why. So that's going to happen for Lonzo Ball. Now, in terms of basketball stuff and how it relates to the cap space for this Bulls team, okay? I'm going to repeat this, and I've repeated this many times, but I always like repeating this, okay? The Bulls, right now, they are stuck with Lonzo Ball's contract if he is just going to be out, okay? If he is just going to be out with injury, they are stuck with his contract, all right? There's nothing that this Bulls team can really do. I saw a lot immediately after the news came out saying that Lonzo Ball is going to be out from probably most of next season. Everyone's like, okay, can we cut him and get cap space? No, we can't. If we cut him, right, he is guaranteed next season, okay, he is guaranteed $20 million, and then the year after that, he has a player option, but that is still guaranteed money. That means we still have to pay him, okay? So, no matter what, Lonzo Ball is guaranteed basically $41 million in the next 2 seasons, and the Bulls have to pay his money, and it counts against the salary cap, all right? Now, for the ways to get rid of or potentially open up some cap space with Lonzo Ball, there are a few things that this Bulls team could do to kind of either remove Lonzo's contract or kind of save some money in terms of Lonzo's contract, at least for the near future, okay? The first option is something called the stretch provision, okay? So for next season, for example, the Bulls could be like, okay, Lonzo, look, man, we can't have you on the team. We gotta get some cap space here. But what they could do technically is that they could waive Lonzo Ball, and then if he clears waivers, right, which I expect him to, the Bulls could then use the stretch provision to then basically extend out his contract over 5 years, okay? So it would basically take Lonzo's remaining $40 million and then break it into 5 different, or how divide it up by 5, and then the Bulls on their salary cap for the next 5 years are going to say Lonzo Ball, however much money it is, which is, I haven't done the math, but I believe it's $8 million if I'm doing just quick math. So that's what it would be. They could take Lonzo Ball, waive him, and then use the stretch provision. If you don't know what the stretch provision is, I'll just bring this up for you just so you can look at it. The stretch provision basically is when you waive a player, okay, you take how many years are left under their contract and times that number by 2, okay, and then you add another year, and then you stretch the money across all those years, okay? So take Lonzo's contract, for example. If the Bulls decide to waive Lonzo Ball next season, that means that there are 2 years left remaining on his contract. You times that number by 2, which then gets you 4, and then you add another year, which gets you 5, right? So the Bulls would then be able to stretch Lonzo's contract over 5 years, which is going to be about $8 million they'd have to pay, and it would be accounted against the salary cap for the next 5 seasons. I don't think that's personally worth it because I do not want to be paying Lonzo Ball, who I don't know his health and everything for the future. I do not want to be paying him $8 million 5 years down the road. That is just not a smart decision, okay? So, personally, it just does not make any sense. I would not do it. Now, I will say this, though. Come this season in 2024, where Lonzo's going to be getting $20 million, I might use the stretch provision at this season, right? And because then it would be 1 year times 2 plus 1, so it'd be stretched over 3 years instead of 5. I might consider that, but at least for next season, that's not going to happen, okay? So that's one option. I'm just going to say for next season, you wipe it off the board. The other option is this. Lonzo Ball ends his career. The doctors say that Lonzo Ball is officially, his injury is career-threatening, and he cannot play anymore, okay? If that happens, then the Bulls would be able to wipe all that money off of their salary cap. The Bulls would still have to pay Lonzo Ball the rest of his contract, but at least to the salary cap, that money gets wiped away. So the Bulls would suddenly have $20 million to use, or an extra $20 million in cap space next season and then the season after that. So that's how the Bulls can at least open up some money or potentially remove Lonzo's contract for the remaining seasons of his contract with this team. as of right now, I think neither of those options are actually feasible. Sorry, hold on one second. I don't think the Bulls are going to stretch him or even stretch him, and then I don't think that Lonzo and his camp are going to be trying to, or I think Lonzo and his camp are going to fight as long as possible to try to keep his career alive. I don't know exactly what the communication is. Okay, I think a lot of Bulls fans are saying that, well, shouldn't the doctors be telling the Bulls, hey, this is what's happening. His knee looks very bad. You should probably apply for the career threatening injury or whatever provision. I don't know what it is, but here's what I think is happening. I don't think Lonzo and his camp is really communicating with the Bulls front office right now. I think that they're just kind of like, they're trying to act as if there's a glimpse of hope, and in reality there just isn't, right? If you're wondering why I think this, I think the motive is that they're trying their best to keep Lonzo's career alive, right? They still get paid the rest of his contract, but what could still happen is Lonzo could then still get paid after this contract, technically, right? And if he just suddenly has to retire, he can't do that. So to me, that is their motive, just to try to keep the team alive. But also, think about this, like, maybe there is some sort of like potential that he does come back. It's just going to take a couple of years. They don't want the Bulls to go out and get his replacement, right? Which I think that's really annoying, but it could be a possibility. I'm not saying that either this is true or any of this is true. I'm just speculating, and the way that this Bulls team has handled this right now, I don't personally like it, and I hope that they start putting their foot down and be like, look, man, we have to go get a replacement. Like, we can't wait around anymore. We just can't. It just straight up can't happen. So I just hope that this Bulls front office is like, look, man, we tried waiting around for Lonzo this season. He never came back. We're not going to do this again. Start of next season, we're going to file for the disabled player exception, which means that we know that Lonzo is going to be out for the rest of next season, right? And we would get from the league about $10 million to kind of use, okay? I would file for that immediately. We'd probably get it and use that $10 million to go and help you make moves to get a new point guard, okay? That's what I would personally do. I just don't know if that's going to happen, because I think that the front office is kind of right now in the dark in terms of Lonzo's health, and they don't know if they could file for that or not. So it's a very odd situation. I'm not saying Lonzo's a bad person. I'm not saying that he is doing things maliciously. All I'm saying is that I think that there are different motives in terms of what's happening here. Bulls front office wants to move on. The Lonzo's camp's like, no, we don't want you to do that. Hence, then it's kind of like a whole, sterile, or whatever you want to call it. It's just a whole mess right now. So that's what's going to happen moving forward. I don't know exactly what the Bulls are going to do. I've laid out the options, though. I've given you the options that they have in front of them. I don't think a trade is available, unfortunately. I don't think anyone's going to take Lonzo's money. So this is it. This is it. If in terms of Lonzo Ball, if he's not going to play next season, then it's either you waive and stretch him, you file for a career-ending injury, or you file for the disabled player exception, and then he's out for the rest of next season, but you get $10 million to work with. That does count against your cap, unfortunately, and it counts against the luxury tax. So, yeah. Work it out, AK. It's up to you, honestly. And unfortunately, it does really, really, really suck. Do you think signing Fred VanVleet would be a good sign for the Bulls to replace Lonzo? So I do like Fred VanVleet. My issue is a couple of things. One, the Bulls do not have any cap space next in the offseason. So I don't know how exactly Fred VanVleet gets here. But two, I think with Fred VanVleet, I always worry about the small guards. Like I truly do. I think the small guards, and I'm talking about the small guards that really rely on their quickness and they go into the paint a lot. Fred VanVleet's 6'1". He's also 29, and this season he is shooting a whopping 39% from the field. That's not great. Yeah, he is still averaging 19 points per game. It's just, I do kind of question how long he's going to be able to keep this up for. But personally, I think it would definitely help this Bulls team immediately. As it goes on, though, I do question how long he's gonna be able to stay healthy. But I wouldn't mind it. I just don't know how he gets here, because, as I said, the Bulls do not have any cap space. Like it says, like you could have $11 million, but you only get this $11 million if you if you just let all these rights go, like if you don't give the qualifying offer to Kobe, you just let Vooch go completely. You don't re-sign Ayo Dosunmu. That's how you get the $11 million. But that's not gonna happen, right? We're gonna give the qualifying offer to Kobe. We're probably bringing back Ayo, and he also gets a qualifying offer, right? So therefore, the Bulls are going to be operating over the cap this upcoming offseason unless they trade DeRozan, which is also another reason why I'm like, we should trade DeRozan now. Yeah, that's just my opinion. So yeah, that's where the Bulls are at. It sucks, but here we go. And I think that I would call for like a small reset, but we'll see what this Bulls front office decides to do. Sorry, hold on. I gotta take my gum out of my mouth. 1 second. Sorry about that. Allergy season. Alright. So, I told you everything about what the Bulls can do with Lonzo. I'm telling you about the cap situation. It's not great, unfortunately. But that does not mean that this Bulls team does not have things to do. They have some moves that they can make, including, I would say, trade DeRozan. I'm not bringing back Vooch no matter what. But this is where we're at. And so I'm going to recommend another point guard here. So I know MC season, you said Fred VanVleet. I would like Fred VanVleet. Again, though, I just don't know how he gets on this Bulls team. The Bulls don't have cap space this offseason. Unless, again, we're trading DeRozan. But one guy that I think would be interesting, and I say this a little bit hesitantly, but I'm a little bit interested just because of how their season is going, or how I look at the rest of their tenure with this team, and it's Terry Rozier. Okay, now one thing that I'm already kind of scared of by saying Terry Rozier is that the 3-point percentage for some reason is dipped. I'm just hoping that this is like an anomaly, but Terry Rozier, I think, is a guy that I could potentially love on this team. He is a very creative point guard. He is unfortunately also 6'1", so he's on the smaller side, but he is pretty decent defensively. He's averaging close to 22 points per game, which would be a career high this season. The other thing too is that I feel like he's been pretty healthy his entire career. At least when he's been starting, he's been pretty overall healthy. I do see a 63 game season, but this is in the 72 game season, right? So I just think this is a guy that I could trust to at least, be there. And it is just kind of an idea. Now, the only way that this would work, right, is if either we trade DeRozan beforehand, okay, or the Hornets take on Ball's money. I don't think that the Hornets are necessarily looking at Lonzo Ball, but if they're willing to take a first-round pick or something, and maybe we throw in something else, and that's it for Terry Rozier, I'd be all for it. But I don't think this is necessarily something that is possible. It's just an idea to kind of throw out there. Terry Rozier for next season is making 23, and then 24, and then his last season is partially guaranteed. So this would not be a full year. This would not be fully $26 million if we decided to release him or anything, right? Or trade him. So just an interesting idea. His contract is not the biggest, especially with the cap going up each year. He is also on the Charlotte Hornets team that is clearly not having a good time. So I'm just throwing this out there as potential. Last stream, I said Tyus Jones, right? And I truly think that Tyus Jones is a legit possibility. I'm going to say Terry Rozier, just check in. Like, think about it. Try to see if there's maybe something that you could work out. Most likely, though, it's probably not going to happen, but keep your eye on it, because he is one of those point guards right now that is on a terrible team that could use a change of scenery. So, yeah, just an idea just to kind of throw out there, potentially who could replace Lonzo moving forward. Let's see here. Let's just hope he gets back to normal level. Yeah, I don't see Jerry spending the extra cap for other players. So just pay $20 million season lots. Come on, let's be real. We know how Jerry operates. That's the reason why I don't think that the Bulls are not gonna add more money. Honestly, like when I say disabled player exceptions, gonna be $10 million. Like unless if we're not hating the luxury tax, we'd use it. But I don't see them really filing for that either. So yeah. Was it a good game for DeMar, or do you think we will consistently stay at this level for a bit? like last February. For me personally, I don't think this Bulls team's going really much of anywhere. It's honestly with this Bulls team, we're looking at just a fight for like the last 9-10 seed like in the play-in tournament, right? Like it's gonna be Toronto Bulls, Pacers, Wizards. We're all just gonna be fighting for 9 and 10 seeds. So I don't see this Bulls team moving up anytime soon. Maybe they play a little bit better, like and not go under 500 like they did at the end of last season. But I'm not sure. I don't think this Bulls team is like heading places. So for me, it might be just slightly better, just because I think that Zach LaVine looks a lot better. And he's been honestly on a roll, and if he's on a roll, then it just makes his team better. So maybe that's the case, but yeah, not too sure honestly. I don't see this Bulls team just suddenly jumping up to 7th though. It just doesn't seem possible. But there are games left. There's 13, I think 14 or 13 games left. So yeah. Let's see here. Not just agents. Lonzo seems disconnected with the team too most of the time. I don't see him around team. Yeah, Lonzo's not here, and I honestly think it's because he's trying to rehab. But yeah, it is true. He's not here right now. Bulls can opt into that career-ending injury thing and get Lonzo's cap space money back. I think could be wrong. So MC season. So the Bulls. It's not about the Bulls opting into that, right? They have to file for that from the league, right? Well, first off, the team doctors have to go to the Bulls and say, "Hey, this Lonzo's injury is career ending." Okay, then the Bulls have to then take that and then file that to the league, and then the league has to then go to all the doctors and be like, "Hey, is this career ending?" And then the doctors have to tell the league, "Yes." My thing is though, is that I don't think that what's happening right now is that I don't think the doctors for Lonzo are communicating with the Bulls front office. Like I just think that Lonzo and his camp are communicating with his doctors, and that's where that communication ends. I just think that the Lonzo's camp right now does not want to communicate to this Bulls front office. Like I just think that they're like, look, we want to try to keep Lonzo's career alive as long as possible. Which to me, I'm just saying, I don't think it's going to be alive for very long. I personally just don't see that. I think his career's over. But yeah, it truly does suck. Here's about small guards. They are super inefficient and score 19, 21 points to take 18, 19 shots on 40%. We got Zach and DeMar taking 18 shots each. And we only got like 14 shots left. Our third option, Vooch is scoring 18. Rozier and then Fred VanVleet with 12 to 14 shots will take a nosedive in scoring. My thing is, though, Box, is that I don't think Vooch is going to be here next season. So I just think then those shots go to then Rozier, Fred VanVleet, whoever. That's just what I think. One of my Rozier is hoping we would have traded for him at deadline this year since Bulls were reportedly interested in him. Yeah, I don't know how legit that report was, but I do think the Bulls were looking at a point guard. I just don't know if it was Rozier. I question how they could get Rozier on this roster with his contract. Like I'd have to wait until the offseason to make that sort of deal. So that's the reason I'm bringing it up now. Give Kobe 18 shots a game. He most probably gives you 20 points and 5 assists in 38 minutes too. He gave 15, 5, 5, and 13 shots in his second year. I disagree, unfortunately, Box. I think Kobe, unfortunately, I don't trust. I like Kobe, right? You want to talk about inefficient. I know he's 6'5", but he's had years of 39%, 41%, 43%, and 41%. Like these are overall bad years shooting, right? So I question if he's going to be able to bring that field goal percentage up if he gets more shot attempts, right? I agree with that. That'd be a way to sign Fred, wouldn't it? No. If the Bulls are going to get Fred VanVleet, it'd have to either be you trade DeRozan, right, and then you trade for Fred VanVleet, or you sign a trade for him. My thing with Terry Rozier, right, it would be you sign and trade, or you trade Lonzo's money, right? You take Lonzo's contract and you throw him over to the Hornets because the Hornets have LaMelo there, and then you also have to give the Hornets a first round pick plus more, right? And I don't know how legit that is personally. If I went to the Raptors with that same offer, it's a straight up no. But with the Hornets, it's a maybe, right? I just don't think it's possible. So to me, I think Fred VanVleet is very hard to get on this team. Because not only then, like it's either you trade DeRozan and then you sign him here, or you have to then figure out a sign and trade deal, and I don't know how the money would work out because Fred VanVleet is going to want more than $20 million, right? I think that's the other thing that I think we're kind of forgetting here. It's like Fred VanVleet, he's making like $20 million now, I believe. He's going to get like 30 in the offseason, right? It's not like he's going to be making 20, or yeah, he's making 22 now. That he is 100% going to want 30 plus. So it's not like we're just taking his 22 and then adding it onto our roster. It's going to require a massive amount of players being moved just to get him onto here. I don't compare him to Fred VanVleet, but he is at least as good as Rozier in the same role. Maybe. I don't know, man. I truly do question Kobe and his ability to be efficient, because I see games, obviously, where he'll shoot very, very efficiently. He will miss like 3 shots, but then I then see games where I'm like, where were you? Like you missed like 9 shots tonight, and that just can't happen. All these dudes going to cost 20 mil. Got the same shot percentage, though. We can't call Kobe's bad percentage when Rozier and Fred VanVleet got the same percentage field goal and 3-point for their careers as Kobe. Sure, but I'm also aware that one player has been extremely inconsistent, like more inconsistent, right? Like, I'm aware of the field goal percentages for Fred VanVleet and Terry Rozier, but let's just, by the way, Terry Rozier, okay, like this season is just this season in terms of like field goal percentage. Like we saw 44-45, right? Okay, so there's been years where he's looked better. Okay, this year I am aware of this year, but that's just this year. With Fred VanVleet, you have an argument, but to me with Rozier, I don't think you do, because I think he's been more consistent. And obviously, he is starting, so there's that to also just kind of consider. I expect 20 plus mil vets to be more efficient than 8 mil Kobe. I mean, I think they are. I don't know what you're saying. That's true. He won 30 plus. Well, whatever we do, I hope we at least get a game-changing player to help Zach. I would like that too. I just don't think we can get that player until 2024. So it's about trying to keep Zach here for past next season, and then 2024, I'm like, yeah. 41% for the career says otherwise, but that's for the career though. I'm not gonna count Terry Rozier's rookie year where he shot 27%, right? Like that's not something I'm gonna count, Box. Like I'm not gonna count this, right? This is like that's a rookie year that is just destroying his field goal percentage, right? That doesn't count. If you want to talk about Fred VanVleet, like, you have an argument. Like, I think Fred VanVleet, unfortunately, his field goal, like, he has consistently just been like low 40s every single year. Like, look, like his highest was 42% this year. You have an argument with Fred, for sure. All right, so MC season. I want to talk to you about how I think the Bulls can get more impactful players, right? Because, like, I'm just gonna say, like, I understand, like, I try to criticize very, like, objectively. I will say that I do lean towards, like, I think that Levine should stay. I know a lot of people will disagree with me on that, but I just, all I'm gonna say is that if this Bulls team decides to rebuild, I think that if we're gonna trade Zach and hit the full rebuild button, like, oh my god, we better get a haul back for him. But I just don't see right now for a rebuild to happen. Like, I don't see a blue chip prospect, right? And I like P. Will. I just don't think he's a blue chip. And also we're down a pick, right? I'm not talking about this season. I'm talking about in 2025. We don't have our first round pick in 2025, right? So that's where I'm just like, I think rebuild's a little bit scary when you know about that blue chip, right? And that's the reason why I've been saying I'm looking to try to make better decisions. Which, by the way, I'll just say this: the Vooch trade was definitely an L, right? I personally do not care about Wendell Carter Jr. Okay, this is coming from a guy that defended the hell out of Wendell Carter Jr. Okay, I remember Bulls fans on this channel saying that they would take anybody over Wendell Carter Jr. And that's how much they hated Wendell Carter Jr. So all I'm just gonna say is that I told you so, one, but number two, don't be a hypocrite. You said that you'd take anybody besides Wendell Carter Jr. for the Bulls at center. They hated the hell out of him. So he's looked better in Orlando, but he is not going to turn into like an all-star. Okay, so personally, I'm just like, I'm happy for him. I'm going to say I told you so, but also I don't care. Like the fact that he was traded in that Vucevic trade, I legit do not care. What I do care about though is that the Bulls, they traded 2 first-round picks, and that to me is the L of the trade with the Vucevic trade. That to me is the biggest L. Okay, now when it comes to the DeRozan deal, I think the Bulls actually won this because considering what the Bulls actually gave up for him, I think that the Bulls could get that at least in return. Like the Bulls gave up a first-round pick in a DeRozan deal. It's top 10 protected, right? Everything else did not matter. So I think the Bulls can, if they trade DeRozan, right, they could get that back plus more. So in the end, you win it. It's not exactly the perfect signing, but you at least win it. With the Lonzo deal, I think the Bulls, that was the right decision. I thought the Caruso deal is perfect for them. That deserves an A+. But after that, it gets weary. Like, it's not great decisions overall. So, for the future, like, I question if this Bulls team can actually, or this Bulls front office can actually do a rebuild, one. But number two, I just don't think that this rebuild's going to go the way that people think it could. Like, everyone just thinks that if you hit the rebuild button, you wait 3 seasons, and suddenly, all of a sudden, oh, we're back in it, guys. See, it was worth it all along. When I'm looking at a rebuild as, like, if we rebuild right now, I am thinking that it's going to take a good 5 seasons for this Bulls team just to even look competent, okay? And that scares me because then that's not even a guarantee, right? Because we could look very bad in 5 seasons, and then in the next 5 seasons still look pretty bad, right? I don't personally want to do that, but I understand where people are coming from right now. But what I have been saying for the longest time is if this front office is ever going to redeem itself, it has to be through 2024 free agency, okay? And if you're not aware, the Chicago Bulls, they have a crap ton of cap space in the 2024 free agency with Lonzo's money on the books still, okay? This is with Lonzo Ball's contract year still. And Zach is still on the books with his max contract, which, by the way, is not a bad deal for all you people that say it is a bad deal. It's not a bad deal. The salary cap continues to go up, all right? So I don't want to hear, well, Zach's such a big contract. Like, well, guess what? The salary cap still goes up, all right? So please shut up. But even with Zach's deal and Lonzo Ball's dead money, the Bulls are projected to have $75 million in cap space, okay? Now, this number is 100% going to go down because the Ayo Dosunmu or Kobe White, or maybe both, are going to re-sign this offseason, right? And so this number, instead of it being 75, I'm going to say it's going to be closer to 60. Either way, that's still enough money to get a max contract player. And then in 2024 free agency, we have people everywhere to go after. Pascal Siakam is going to be a free agent, right? Jaylen Brown, free agent. The person that I think has the most likely ability to come here is DeJounte Murray. But yeah, Domantas Sabonis will also be a free agent if we want him. We'll see about that, though. But there's just a lot of guys that I'm like really looking at, and I think could be huge difference makers for this Bulls team moving forward. Okay. No, MC, I'm not saying you said anything about Wendell, MC. I'm just saying in general, Bulls fans just have said that on this channel. You didn't say that. So yeah, I just think that if this Bulls team is going to keep Zach and they're going to try to figure out a way to get another impactful player around him, it's going to come in 2024. Okay. And if you're wondering, like, well, why don't these guys just re-sign with their teams? Now, I think if there is a player that's going to re-sign with their team, it's going to be Jaylen Brown because obviously with Boston, you know, and Tatum, like they're on their way to the finals or potentially, I'm going to say conference finals for now. I think the Bucks are coming out of the East, but Jaylen Brown, no matter what though, he has to go through free agency because if you look at his contract, right, he's not getting paid the max. Okay, this is not a max contract that he got paid. So for him to get his max contract, he has to go through free agency. It's similar to how Zach LaVine was not getting paid that much, and so the Bulls cannot offer Zach LaVine a max contract extension because he was only getting paid $19.5 million. Jaylen Brown is not getting paid a max deal right now, so if they try to offer him a max contract extension, they can't, right? So the only way that Jaylen Brown's going to get his max contract is through free agency, and it's similar to how Zach got his max contract, right? So I think Jaylen Brown goes back to Boston because he gets paid the most, and it's probably the best situation for him. Now, Pascal Siakam is going to be interesting because the Raptors have sucked this season, and I don't know what they're going to do next season, but we'll see about him. The reason why I am big on DeJounte Murray is because I think the Atlanta Hawks are going to continue to suck. They just gave up 3 first-round picks to get DeJounte, and he's been playing out of position the entire season, right? DeJounte's a point guard. He's playing the 2, and if you look at his contract, he is getting paid nowhere near a max contract, right? So he is 1,000,000% going to go into unrestricted free agency, and this is when I think the Bulls can snag him and then say, hey, you want to come play with Zach LaVine, right? This is how it's going to work out. Seattle buddies, come to your backcourt, right? Now, I don't think DeJounte Murray's a superstar. I think he's a very good all-star, but it at least gets the Bulls heading in the right direction, right? So this is the reason why I am huge on 2024 free agency. I am willing to pay DeJounte Murray the max. People, if you're going to question me on that, fine, but I just think that any all-star, especially a guy who is an all-NBA caliber defender, deserves the max contract. So DeJounte Murray, I think, would be perfect for this Bulls team, especially with Lonzo Ball and his situation in a very unknown spot. Now, the problem is then it's like, okay, if we're gonna get DeJounte Murray, then who is gonna be the number 1 on this team, right? And I said that Zach's the number 2, so ideally then DeJounte's your number 3. And this is where it gets really interesting because this offseason is where Patrick Williams is a free agent as well. I don't know what his value is going to be, but the thing is at this moment, the Bulls should at least only still be down 1 pick, right? But the biggest thing is that they'd have some more picks available for them. So obviously then 2025 they don't have their pick, but then 2027, 2029, 2031, they would be able to trade those picks to potentially get that superstar that we're all kind of looking for, right? So that would be the idea. Now, if we can somehow get Jaylen Brown or let's say a Pascal Siakam, then I think that they could be the number 1s, like easily. But if we can't get either of them and we get DeJounte Murray, I won't be upset either. It gets the Bulls headed in the right direction. You have a good point guard that fits the modern style pretty well. He is a mid-range shooter, a good chunk, but he also is shooting a career high in attempts from 3-point range this season. So as you can see here, DeJounte Murray is averaging 5.5 3-point attempts per game and 36% shooting. So I am aware that DeJounte does take some mid-range shots, but if he is at least is giving me 5 attempts from 3 per game, I don't care. And he's shooting 36%, which is almost his career high. So I am personally all for it. I think this would be a good move. But obviously, that's not a guarantee. This is just the way that I see things moving forward. If the Bulls decide that we're not going to be hitting the full rebuild button, and we're going to keep Zach around, Zach would be 30 at this point in his career in the 2024 free agency. So I think it's, Zach's still in the middle of his prime. Go get another guy, potentially make some more moves. You have some cap space to kind of work around with. Obviously, some draft picks would be made at that point too. So just saying that this is an option, right? And I would also trade DeMar DeRozan now because then maybe you have more assets to kind of use in this free agency. I don't know. But just kind of stuff to kind of look at. Also then, at this point, Dalen Terry should be at least coming along, right? Maybe another few other young players like Io or Kobe. So just kind of puts the Bulls in a pretty good overall spot where they look pretty all right. And then Patrick Williams, if he can become OG Anunoby 2.0, I think this Bulls team looks pretty good. But obviously there is no guarantees with anything. But this is just kind of what I'm looking at moving forward. And I hope it works out pretty well. So just to kind of answer your question, MC, just to, how can you get another impactful player around Zach or next to Zach? This is how I think it has to happen, which I'm willing to wait for. We'll see if they can do this. Obviously, the front office has to do everything correctly, but this is the way that I look at things, and I'm always kind of checking in on this moving forward. So this is the way that I would do it, but yeah. Let's see. Isn't DeJounte like buddies with Zach? He is, yeah. I can see Siakam getting signed and traded. He'll want to get max money for his bird rights, I guess. So bird rights, just so you know, Box, if you sign and trade a player, they can't get the bird rights. Okay, it's as if they're going to that next team. So at max, they can only sign a 4-year contract, and they can only get a 5% raise each year. If it was bird rights, it'd be a 5-year contract with an 8% raise each year. But if you're getting signed and traded, those rules don't apply anymore. That means that it's as if you're going to another team anyway. So yeah, people. I don't know if you're here for this, Box, but there's a Bulls account on Twitter saying that is their handle is @BullsSource, and I hate this account because they continue to tweet stuff that is just incorrect info, and they have like the biggest following ever, and it bothers the crap out of me. But they tweeted out saying that no matter what, Zach LaVine is either going to be returned to the Bulls or he's going to be signed and traded because he wants a 5-year deal. And I said, like, look, that's incorrect. If Zach LaVine decides I'm going to go to some other team and he's going to get signed and traded there, it would have been on a 4-year contract without the bird rights. That to me is just, it straight up was like, I don't know what the hell, where BullsSource got his info from, but he just spews out info, and I'm like, that's wrong. I've corrected him many times, and I've asked them, like, who are you running this account, and they never respond to me. But yeah, that if you're wondering, just if let's say Pascal Siakam gets signed and traded here, it would be on a 4-year contract, and not a 5-year. It would not have bird rights with that contract. So yeah. Now that you mentioned the 24-25 season opened up our cap, having interesting FAs, the more I want to mark on, so we can give 1.5 full season on Pulo, see if he could actually step his game up. I agree. I think that next season, if let's say you trade DeMar and people kind of comes to number 2, just kind of see how he does, I'm all for it. I would like to kind of see it because I don't think he is really that player. Like I said, OG Anunoby 2.0. I think that's where Pulo's headed. But I would like to try to test him for sure. And I'd be all for it, but that's obviously also not a guarantee. I front office, man, I don't know. This offseason is gonna be very interesting because I think this front office is like, if they stay pat again, like I actually think that you're gonna see some serious outcry from the Bulls fan base, and you're gonna see attendance go down actually, but it's not gonna go down significant enough for them to be like, oh my god, we gotta make major deals. But I do think that at the very least they're seeing the right, like for them, like we have to make some sort of change. I'm not sure how big of a change we're looking at here, but I do think that next season there is going to be a new starter in the starting lineup. I just don't know what kind of starter. It could be a small forward, point guard, center. I just don't know. We're really going to see. As I mentioned earlier, when it comes to the Alonzo Ball thing, right? If the Bulls, let's say they can't get the career-ending thing, and so his money can't get wiped. This is the year where I would actually, if Lonzo still can't play, this would be the year I would waive him and then stretch him, because this is the last year of his deal, as I said earlier. So then it's ×2, so it'd be 1 × 2 plus another year, so it'd be 3 years. You just extend his $21 million across those 3 years. So again, it's going to be around $7 million. This opens up more cap space, though, for this offseason to work with, right? That would open up about $13 million to work with if you just stretch and waive Lonzo this offseason in 2024. So if there's going to be a time to do it, it would be this offseason, but I don't know if that's, I don't even know if we're going to even get to that point, honestly, because I just think Lonzo's career is done. But yeah. You and Hayes really need to do a collab. Y'all have great basketball knowledge. You ever think about reaching out to him? So, MC season. I'm not gonna say anything, but I agree with you. I think a lot of the people or in the community, in both of our communities, agree with you. And I can neither confirm nor deny a collab happening. But all I'm gonna say is just be on the lookout, and I'll leave it there. So I hope you get the message. That was very coded, but just be on the lookout. And yeah, that's all I'll say. I don't want to say anything else. But yeah, Hayes is very good. I appreciate what Hayes has done for my community this season. He has helped me grow my community this season. And yeah, I truly appreciate having Hayes have my back and support me, and I'm happy he's in the Bulls community. And I want to talk about a worker, man. That dude just works constantly, and I don't know how he does it. I'm still in school, and I can't do this every single day. So I give credit to Hayes a lot for what he does. But yeah. Couple things before I end stream. It is I have hit the hour 30 mark actually. I'm actually really surprised. But so I addressed the Lonzo situation as I wanted to. Talk about this game obviously. I want to talk about a few more things, and it relates to the actual game itself. And we're gonna talk about this, okay? I'm gonna bring up a clip here, so give me a few seconds. Hayes is a great dude, workhorse, loves the team of sports, other creators. Yeah, I truly appreciate what Hayes has done. He has done. I have technically done a collab with him already, but it was not really public. But yeah, Hayes does a lot of work, not just for himself but for other people. And it's something that I truly appreciate about him. So yeah. All right, I want to talk about this. I was not able to talk about the Kings loss and the Sacramento Kings, the Sacramento Kings L and De'Aaron Fox hitting that shot. But I want to talk about this. I want to talk about a couple of things that I have read on Twitter that I'm very much in disagreement with. And it may be potentially, who knows, hypothetically, theoretically, can't confirm nor deny what might be coming to potential collabs in future in said collabs. Okay. Let's see. The thought on bigger Bulls channels refusing to acknowledge smaller channels and only collabing with bigger name Bulls commentators. Cough cough. Bulls Central. Yeah. So like Bulls Central. Okay. I have. I'm sure you've been here, MC. I've been here. If you've been here, I have called him out many times. And it's not necessarily about what he does. It's more so about his knowledge of the game, which I think is actually not that high. He, multiple times, Bulls Central has drawn up a trade on Twitter saying that this should work out. And I tell him that this is an impossible trade. And he's like, well, what are you talking about? I'm going off of these rules, and I know my rules are correct. I'm like, no, you don't know the rules. You're making up rules. I don't know where you got this rule from, but hey, look, if you don't trust me on this, then I'm going to refer you to Ryan Borgia on Twitter, because that dude is legit the absolute mastermind when it comes to NBA, trade rules and salary cap rules. But I know I'm correct in all this stuff. Now, Bulls Central, I will say that I do think that I wish that he would kind of support some of these other people. And it's not even just like it's not just like small content creators. Like, I don't think Bulls Central sometimes, like, even for like decently sized creators, will even say anything for them. And I kind of find that odd. I'm not a person that is going to be petty about it. I am just aware of what people do. So, someone like Hayes, for example, because he has been reaching out to me and supporting me when I'm at this level of my community, right? Then all I'm going to say is that if this community continues to grow and I'm reached out to other people, then I know who I'm going to first, right? Which is that I'm going back to Hayes and I am helping him and supporting him the most, right? Again, I'm not being petty or anything. I'm just being aware of what it is, because it is interesting with how like this industry kind of works out in a sense, and it's not just Bulls community, right? It's every industry on YouTube, right? I feel petty for you. That brings on Chicago Bulls beat writers and people from CHGO Sports, which pisses me off. So look, here's all I'm gonna say: Bulls beat writers, Casey Johnson, Rob Schaefer, I'm forgetting his name, Will Gottlieb, MK Hoops. Like I know that Rob unfortunately was let go from his job, but those guys, in my opinion, are fantastic at what they do, and they deserve all the love and should be 100% be asked onto any channel. It doesn't matter what it is, because they do the nitty gritty work, right? That is something that they do a ton, or I guess also Darnell Mayberry too. Like these guys, what they do, it is something that I feel like is underappreciated, and they give us a lot to actually work off of in terms of content, right? They deserve a ton of credit for what they've done. So, him inviting Casey Johnson on, for example, I'm not too upset about that. Now, when it comes to guys, for example, like Matt Peck, right? And I think that Matt Peck is a very good guy. It's kind of like, we have access to Matt Peck, 24/7. We get to see him all the time, right? Not saying he does a bad job, it's just is that he's on CHGO, he has a bigger platform, right? And I do think that there are some people in the Bulls community that they don't get any sort of recognition at all, when I feel like maybe some other people could, right? Maybe some other people could help them get that sort of recognition because they deserve it. They put in the work. But yeah, and it is just kind of how this industry goes. But yeah. He's doing PR, also using no names to bring clicks. It is what it is. I followed him for a while. He has good voice on the mic, but that's about it. Not knowledgeable. Like again, I think what he does in terms of his content, it's his content, and for me personally, the way his content rolls, I just disagree with it. I don't think it's really that insightful. I think it's more like what he does is like he takes kind of like public knowledge and puts it in a video, which I'm like, okay, that's fine. I mean, he's not the only one that does it. I want to take the next step, though, right? I want to dive into the numbers. I want to dive into the plays. I want to talk about maybe a storyline, but let's actually break it down. Is it true or not, right? And that's just the way my content is. His content's his content, and that's it. So, yeah, it is what it is. And I respect his content. I just personally would not... I don't agree with a lot of things that he says, because he has tried to have looked smarter when it comes to this sort of stuff, and he has failed many times. So, yeah, that's when I draw the line a bit, because if you're gonna tell people or community or people on Twitter, hey, this is a legit fact, like there is so much misinformation already on Twitter. Like I don't want you adding more to that, right? And like I've been wrong with some of my tweets. Like I'll tweet out something and I'm like, oh, that was wrong. And then I typically go back and say, hey, I messed up. This is the actual correct thing. But when it comes to him, like I have called him out multiple times on things, and he won't go back and correct himself. The tweet's still up there, and he says nothing about it. And I get ratioed on Twitter from his followers, but it is what it is. But yeah, that's where I say it's like I draw the line there, because I want everybody, no matter who it is, I want everybody who is consuming content to have the correct information, right? I value that a lot. So, yeah, that's kind of where my big problem I have with them is. Mood Hayes and Hayes, I learned about Duncan. I'm sticking to these two dudes for my Bulls fix. I appreciate that a lot, Box. Yeah. Yeah, I think Hayes has been phenomenal. So yeah. Legit fact that can get exposed in 60 is not very... yeah, it is unfortunate, yeah. Duncan, you think Embiid wins MVP? Here's what I think. I think Embiid right now and him and Jokic are very close. But as of right now, I'm still taking Jokic. The thing is, though, is that the Denver Nuggets have sucked, and the way that Embiid has played has really closed that gap. If this continues, I'm giving Embiid the MVP. If somehow the Denver Nuggets are able to kind of get themselves back up together, and maybe Embiid falls off a little bit, then I'll give it to Jokic. But for now, I'm saying Jokic. But it is this close. It is this close right now. That's all I'm gonna say. Yeah. Yes, anybody had to move on from Bulls Central just based on him not giving shine to small content creators. But I'm not upset of him bringing them on. I'm upset he won't bring on people like you, Hayes, and Pat the Designer, who's also pretty good with Bulls knowledge. Yeah, Pat the Designer is also a guy that I do respect a lot. I think that he also deserves more credit too. So yeah. They're gonna gift this MVP to Embiid. He's crying about it. Sixers fans are crying about it, and that's about it. Here's all I'm gonna say: the Denver Nuggets recently have sucked. Okay, they they have not had a very good time. They won their last game, but they've been pretty bad. The thing right now that the way that I'm looking at it, it's like everyone's going to say, well, first in the West. The 76ers have the same record right now, or the same amount of wins as the Denver Nuggets. Okay? That's my only thing. It's like, sure, first in the West, but like, hey, 76ers have the same amount of wins right now. So, and they're third. But yeah, we'll talk about that in a second. I want to get to this before I have to end this. Yeah, not saying he's a good, but Jokic is still good, better by any metric. So yeah, I do think that Jokic, in terms of just in general metrics, he is better. I don't like the Raptor metric, by the way. The Raptor metric is very odd because also the LeBron metric. That type of stuff is very odd to me. But when you look at net rating, right, and then also some of the other stuff, like it is very much in Joker's favor. But yeah. All right. Talking point in this talk about this. This is something I want to bring up because I think this is important to look at. And what I'm gonna do actually is I'm gonna bring up this game. Okay. I'm gonna bring up this specific game, and we're gonna talk about that last shot that De'Aaron Fox hit against this Bulls team, because I wasn't personally upset in general by losing to the Kings. I was overall pretty upset by how just the Bulls guarded this last shot, because to me, how the Bulls guarded this was just very incorrectly, and they have to do better. Okay, so when we watch this, okay, let's pay attention to what exactly is happening with this defense. All right, because I think people are very confused on what really is supposed to happen. Right. We know that right now that this guy right here with the basketball, he is the most clutch player right now of the year. He has scored the most clutch points in the NBA this season. Okay, this player right here, you do not want him to take the shot. Okay, this is not a guy you want to take the shot. And I'm aware that, like, you know, sometimes there are things that just can't be helped. Like, let's say for example, let's say he pulls a Damian Lillard and he pulls up from 40 feet. Okay. You know what? If he does that, I can live with it. If he pulls it from 40 and he somehow drains it, okay, all right, so what? You move on. But when he pulls up from like a normal 3-point range area and is able to get that one-on-one matchup and then drain it, I have an issue. All right. Again, this play right here to me was not done well. Now, I am not blaming Billy fully on this. I actually think that maybe Billy actually had this drawn up correctly for the defense, okay? But I don't know personally. I'm not gonna fully blame it on Billy. It just, I'm gonna bring up multiple points where maybe it could be on Billy, it could be on the players, who knows? Okay, let's just watch this go up. Okay, De'Aaron Fox has the basketball. I would assume is guarding him. Right here this is the set. All right, so Zach LaVine's on Malik Monk. We have Patrick Williams on Kevin Huerter. DeMar DeRozan's on Harrison Barnes, and Vucevic is on Domantas Sabonis. All right, so because of where the ball is placed right now by De'Aaron Fox, the strong side of the floor is Zach here. So because that Zach is on the strong side, Zach LaVine cannot leave Malik Monk, okay? This is the guy right here that Zach has to stay attached. He cannot cheat over. If he does, there is nobody over here to help him. It's too big of a distance, okay? So immediately, this right here, Zach LaVine cannot move, okay? Now, the guy that you do double with is Patrick Williams. Patrick Williams right here can come over and double team. Now, everybody has been saying, well, if P. Will leaves, then doesn't Kevin Huerter get a wide open 3-point shot? And if you're questioning me on if people are saying that, well, look, this is from Hoop Supply, who's a Bulls fan, and he has a pretty big following, but he says, look, if you double, you're leaving one of the best shooters in the league in this season wide open, okay? It's a pick your poison type play. And my biggest issue with him saying this, okay, my big issue with this, with him saying that, is that I think that's incorrect. Because watch, what I'm going to say is, right now, Patrick Williams should be double teaming De'Aaron Fox right now. There is 3.6 seconds remaining on the clock right now. The Bulls should be using the clock to their advantage, okay? Patrick Williams right now should be coming over to double team. And if Patrick Williams decides to move, then DeMar DeRozan should move up to take Kevin Huerter and deny Kevin Huerter the ball. Because then the only guy that would then be available for Fox to pass it to would be Harrison Barnes all the way in the corner, okay? That pass has to travel all the way in the corner, and you have 3.6 seconds remaining, okay? And obviously, like Patrick's not even there yet. So maybe he throws it at 2 seconds. Like maybe I say he probably throws it around 1 second, and then it's too late to get the shot off. Okay. So in my opinion, what should have happened on this possession, Patrick Williams needs to double team now. Okay. Once you see Patrick Williams move over, then DeMar DeRozan has to come over and deny Kevin Huerter. Because then that means the only thing that Fox can do is either shoot over 2 defenders, right, and P. Will and Io, and if he somehow makes that, then give him a ring, for God's sake. But if he's not going to shoot it, right, and Kevin Huerter is taken up by DeMar DeRozan, then he has to make this cross-court pass to Harrison Barnes with seconds left. We're talking seconds left. And then Harrison Barnes has to catch it with, at bare minimum, 0.3 seconds left remaining, and then shoot it and make it, right? I just think that is very, very low. That's like a very low possibility of that happening, okay? So, personally, I don't like how the Bulls did this. To me, Patrick, you're too late. You're not even committed right here. You gotta do better, right? Because you see that Fox was already pulling up at 2.8 seconds, right? Patrick has to go quicker. He has to get there quicker to double team that. And then you have to then see DeMar DeRozan as the double team comes on over, right? DeMar DeRozan has to come on over here to deny Kevin Huerter the ball, okay? So that's just me personally, how I would have guarded this play. I understand where someone like Hoop Supply is saying, well, no, if I leave Kevin Huerter, that leaves one of the best shooters in the league wide open. There. But as I said, you have to understand that what has to happen next is that DeMar DeRozan has to come on over here. Because if you then double team off of Huerter and DeMar DeRozan rotates, this isn't an issue then. Because then somehow then Harrison Barnes has to hit a crazy shot. And I'm willing to lose by that instead of losing by De'Aaron Fox made 3 or Kevin Huerter made 3. Okay? That's just the way that I would have done it. I don't like when people say, like, well, let's just, forget, like, let's just stop complaining about everything. The Bulls did everything they could, et cetera, et cetera. To me, every single time I'm looking at each play like this, I'm like, what could the Bulls do better? Like, just because, a player hits a crazy shot, for example, like Tyrese Halliburton hitting that game winner against us that was deep from 3. Like, yeah, that's a crazy shot, but I'm always looking at it, and I'm like, what could the Bulls do better? And in my opinion, when it comes to this Fox shot, I'm like, this is what the Bulls could do better. As I just said, double team quicker, make sure that Fox sees that double team quicker, rotate to Kevin Huerter because that's the quickest pass, right? That's his release valve. But if you take away the release valve, it is really tough for the Kings to get a shot off. And if somehow Fox makes that cross-court pass, it gets there in time, Harrison Barnes catches it and shoots it and drains it, I'm willing to lose by that way. I'm more than willing to lose that way. Just knowing that you did everything you possibly can to take the ball out of the best guy's hands. So I want to talk about this because I think that this is important to look at as this Bulls team has gotten killed by last-second shots this entire season. What can we do better? Like, the funny thing is this, it's become a trend, right? This Bulls team losing on, end-of-game shots, it's a trend now. So because it's a trend, I'm like, look, man, that means you're doing something wrong. I don't think that it's like, it's just out of, luck or sheer just bad luck that we've gotten this situation, right? This has been pretty bad overall. And I'm looking at this Bulls team like, you got to do better. And maybe we blame Donovan on this one. Personally, though, I'm blaming on Patrick Williams. And it sucks to have to blame it on him, but I think he needs to come over quicker and double team quicker. And then we're looking at a probably better situation overall. So I wanted to talk about this because I wasn't able to stream after that Kings game, but your thoughts. I want to hear you guys' thoughts on this. Let's see. Man, last possession, everyone knew the Fox taking last shot, and I was guarding the left-handed man from his right side. That is also true. And when Pat wanted to move for help, he had Io in front of him. That was true. Fox took the easiest last-second shot of his career. Yeah. I was guarding him completely wrong, in my opinion. Other than that, 100% agree with every single thing you mentioned. Pat should have been there faster. Marsh could easily rotate or hold. Middle ground between Huerter and Barnes from the get-go. From the get-go, Fox should be forced to go right and not allow him to completely open from his left to dribble or shoot like that. Yeah. So, Box, when you're talking about with Io that you think that he's guarding Fox wrong, and I can also understand that because you see here Io is in kind of saying like I'm making you go this way, and this is also I guess this is actually a really good point, Box. Io should know that his help is coming from his left side, right? So if anything, as you said, you should be forcing Fox this way because Patrick Williams is coming on over to help, right? So yeah, that is a very good point also by Box, right? That Io needs to make sure that he forces Fox to go this way because look, the help is over here. So yeah, Io could have for sure have, in my opinion, guarded this better as well. I think my only thing that I'm going to say about Io is this. The reason why I'm not like so honed in on him is because I am aware that he does not want to foul, right? And we have seen many, many times this season, right, that some weird calls happen at the end of a game that it's like it's not a foul, but it gets called a foul, right? And I'm specifically talking about jump shots, right? Because we had that whole thing tonight, right, where Levine and DeRozan drove in overtime, and neither of them got the call when they clearly got hacked going into the paint, which I've said so many times. You do not drive in the last 2 minutes, okay? You're not going to get the foul call. But we've seen too many times, though, where it's like a foul will get called on a jump shot at the end of the game because that's where the officials are actually looking. And I think Io is like, we don't want a foul in this situation, which I respect that, but I also agree with you that if anything, force him this way, right? And then make him go into Patrick Williams. So, yeah. I agree with that as well. So, yeah, good point by Box. Great point to look at, but thanks for another great stream, bro. Good to see you, MC Season. I appreciate your support a lot. Yeah, hope you have a good night. Not only that, but guarding him from his right side, he couldn't really contest his left-handed shot. His completely open shot. Io couldn't do anything. Not block a shot, not even just hold his palm upwards, trying to minimize Fox's vision. Also a good point. Yeah, I can also see that. Because as they actually say for a left-handed shooter, right? They actually say if you're going to contest him, then you contest him on this side, right? And cut it off his vision that way. And Io went this way. So yeah, that's also another good point, Box. Yeah. So yeah, this to me, like, I know that some people are going to say just crazy shot by Fox. Good job. Just tip your cap and you know, and look, man, again, if Fox for some reason just decided I'm going to pull up from here, right, and just drain it, okay, you know what? I would tip my cap to Fox, be like, you know what, great shot. It's a crazy shot, but you know what? That's just a great shot. It's just the fact that he was allowed to get to this spot right here, and I don't see a double team coming earlier. That to me is where I'm like, Bulls had to do better in this situation, and I was pretty livid that they didn't. Look the way Io is also trying to contest the left-handed shoot with his left hand, which is extremely difficult and kind of dumb. Your right hand lines up with his left hand, and Io uses left. Yeah, that is yeah. You're also right about that. It's also from what you said, Io's stance is like this, right? And if he was making Fox go this way, right, his stance would be flipped, and he wouldn't then contest with his left shot, his left hand. He would contest with his right hand. Yeah. Yeah, you're completely right, Box. Just overall bad. So yeah, I really like to do this sort of stuff because again, what can the Bulls do better? Like this is a trend. Like if this was just like a one-time thing, like okay, you know what, we live and learn. But this is a trend now, and I don't like seeing it. And I that's the reason why I'm pissed. I don't want to see this anymore. But unfortunately, I'm going to say that we're probably going to see the Bulls lose by another game winner at least one more time before the season ends. I'm that confident that something bad is going to happen where that sort of thing does happen. So, yeah. Last thing, and then I'm going to call it a night. Appreciate you guys' support. Overall, good stream. I'm proud of myself for going this far. I'm dealing with allergies, also I'm tired. But yeah. Let's talk about a few other things here. And one of the last point I want to talk about is this. So one of the biggest things that I've been kind of looking at this season, and it's been interesting to kind of look at, in terms of clutch stats this season. Now, I don't think this stat is that great because I think a clutch basket does not have to be in the last 5 minutes with in a game within 5 points or less. I think that there's always clutch baskets throughout the game, right? That does not qualify under those specific rules, right? But in terms of the clutch stats, though, I've been looking at Zach's clutch stats this season, and it really hasn't looked pretty for him. Like, he's shooting 19% overall from 3-point range on the season in terms of clutch performance for him. He is shooting 42 or 43% from the field, this is actually pretty okay in terms of clutch points, or clutch field goal percentage is at 43%. That's solid. Thing is, though, as I look at this, and he's averaging 2.8 points per game. So the points in clutch time, it's not awful. But recently, though, I think Zach has done a much better job in the clutch. And we saw it tonight, where I was very interested to kind of see how he performed in the clutch, and I thought he did a very, very good job of performing well. Recently, though, so like instead of just looking at like the entire season, because this takes into account what Zach had to go through the early part of the season, right? And that was a rough stretch for him. So post All-Star break is kind of where I kind of look at, and it's not exactly great either. Where is he actually? I don't even know where he is. Oh, here's Zach. So he's averaging 5 points in the clutch in each clutch game. After the All-Star break, he's shooting 50% in the clutch and 25% for 3-point range, which again, that's not awful. I still would like to see this a little bit higher, but it's not awful, right? But averaging 5 points in the clutch is very solid. Like this is a very solid number to have since the All-Star break. If you're averaging 5 points in the clutch, that's very, very solid. Like that's in the top 6 technically. So I'm happy to see that with Zach, because this is something that I think people have been kind of getting onto him a lot recently, that he doesn't make the clutch shots, which I do think that Zach at times he does struggle in the clutch, and it's not a shot selection, it's just about making the shot, and he struggles sometimes to kind of create that separation to get that shot off. But which is the reason why I've always said, if Zach just had a point guard, right, I feel like he would be phenomenal in the clutch, because that point guard would help set him up a little bit easier, and he'd have a much more easier time. Now, there was a tweet that I'm going to actually bring up here, and this is something that I'm like, I don't understand what people are talking about when it comes to Zach and his time, and his numbers when it comes to clutch moments, right? Sorry, I'm trying to find my tweet here. Hold on, give me 1 second. I do have to go in a second. Oh, sorry, hold on. Sorry, 1 sec, guys. All right. So my bad. So yeah, in the clutch, I've always said that if Zach just had a point guard, he'd look a lot better in the clutch, because I think that he needs help kind of having guys set him up to get him a little bit better open looks here. But this was a tweet that I looked at, and this was after Zach missed that go-ahead free throw. I forget which game it was, but it was a go-ahead free throw attempt, and he missed. Yeah, I guess it was that Pacers game. And everyone was getting onto him about it, saying, because like, does Zach shoot like 50% in his free throw shooter in the clutch? And I lost my mind when I saw this, because this is just straight up not true, right? Zach in the clutch in terms of free throw percentage, okay, I laid it out at the time. Zach LaVine in the clutch in this season, free throw shots in the clutch is at 83%. Now, again, as I said, overall in the clutch, he's had over like a pretty rough year. But as I said, post All-Star break, he's had a very solid time in the clutch. So, him being healthy is a big part of it. But last season, Zach shot 96% from the free throw line in the clutch, and the Bulls were one of the best teams in the clutch, and a big reason is because of him. He had a very, very good season in the clutch last season. So, I hate when I see this sort of tweet out there, because it's just straight up false. Like, they just put a number out there and they're like, hey, I guess this is it. see, he sucks in the clutch. He shoots 50%. No, he doesn't. Okay. Let's not drive home this narrative that is completely false and you making up numbers. So it just bothers me seeing this sort of thing, but I am keeping track of it. Yeah. Look, he missed a clutch free throw. It's gonna happen. All right. Let's not make a bad narrative out of it. But as you can see here, it's been a lot better in the clutch since the All-Star break. So it's really, really good to see this from Zach moving forward. But I want to bring up a few plays that I was very, very impressed with, that I'm like, okay, if he can make these shots, then I think that he can really start to take over in crunch time. And it's this sort of play like right here, okay? This play was just nothing went right. I think, if I'm remembering correctly, like, yeah, DeMar basically got walled off here. He couldn't get a shot off, and so they throw it back out to Zach, and then Zach is given the ball with 8 seconds left to go here. This is rough, right? Like, this isn't simple. Hold on, sorry, I'm being texted. So this play right here, okay, obviously this is a clutch moment, 1-point game, less than 3 minutes left to go here, and we see Zach, he gets the pick and roll, gets the switch with Kyle Anderson, and he has to then go ahead and reject the screen from Vucevic here. And this is the part where I'm always scared with Zach, because we see him kind of lose the ball here, right? This is kind of where we typically see him lose the ball, but he was able to recover and do a little fadeaway shot here at the free throw line to drain the shot. Like, that's really good to see, because as I've said, in the fourth quarter, I've always said that the defense is always trying to protect the paint first, so they're not going to let Zach just get an easy look in the paint. Everyone says drive, but as I say, it's not something, it's not easy to do. So if Zach's not going to shoot the three, then he has to somehow be able to create space in that mid-range area and get a mid-range look, and he did that in this possession with very little time as well. So this was very, very good shot by Zach. And I was like, okay, good. This was good. And then he came down on the next possession and kind of did something similar, right? This was, again, kind of possessions kind of winding down here. Beverly says, come here. I'm giving you the ball. You just, it's all you, isolate, right? He drives. He then pushes off McDaniels, creates a little bit of separation, knocks down a 16-footer. Like, this is what I want to see moving forward with Zach. If there is no point guard on the team, which again there really isn't, then this is the type of stuff I'm looking at, right? I like seeing this stuff from Zach down the stretch, because I know that he can do this. It's just, again, if a point guard was there, it would be a little bit easier. And then something that I think some people are always just going to be critical of Zach, like, this was in a double OT, right? And we see the Bulls. They ran the play that we're all really used to, which is Beverly comes here, right? He'll pass to the Vooch, and then the initial play is that Zach was actually up here. He comes down, sets a pin down for DeMar to come up and catch the ball up here. But you see that DeMar is being hounded, right? So if DeMar can't get the ball, then Zach is supposed to then come back up here and get it from Vooch. And this, to me right here, guys, like, I know people are always critical of what Zach does, but to me, this is a fantastic shot. And it's not about just Zach's shot making. Like, this to me is a good shot. It's a good decision. Zach gets the ball here, pick and roll. You see Naz Reid. If you're Naz Reid, you got to be up here, okay? If you're not up at the 3-point line, what Zach can do, and it's what makes Zach so hard to guard, is he can just pull up on you, right? This is a good shot. A lot of people are going to say it's a bad shot, but this is a good shot. And I want Bulls fans to get that software update where it's like, that's a good shot. Even if it is crunch time, this is a good shot to take, because Zach had an open look, right? And we all know that he can drain it. So this is stuff that we got to be looking at with Zach moving forward. Last play, and I think this is kind of where I'm very interested in, honestly. I've always kind of said, if Zach had a floater, right, he might honestly be the hardest guard to guard in the paint, because we see, like, you know, the smaller guards, they always have that little floater to get past the shot blocker. But if Zach just had a floater, to not have to worry about, that shot blocker in the paint. Like, I honestly think because of how well he already shoots at the rim, it would be truly unstoppable for people to figure out how to guard him. So in this play right here, right, you see that both Naz Reid and McDaniels are trying to guard him here, and everyone says, okay, Vooch is open, but that's a bit of a rough pass when you're congested in the lane like this. But this little float shot here, or like maybe it's like a fadeaway, whatever you want to call it, that's awesome, right? That's like a 5-foot float shot. That's something that I want to see more from Zach, if he can add that and do that consistently, because we've kind of seen him try that before, but he missed. But if he can add that, that'd be huge, because then I feel like, shot blocking or not, you can't guard him in the paint then, right? So once he steps into that paint, you're done, right? So just something kind of I'm interested in looking at as we move along, because I know for sure the Bulls are going to have more clutch games, or what is considered a clutch game moving forward. So Zach has played very well, right? It doesn't mean that you're going to win every clutch game, right? But I do want to continue to see him play well in the clutch, because I do think it's going to just continue to help this Bulls team and kind of establish, like, okay, we have Zach here too. Like, it's all right to give him the ball down the stretch of games. And not to mention, let's also mention this. Zach had 2 huge stops in this game, right? Zach had a big stop, I believe it was at the end of regulation, and then he had a big stop in the end of the first OT. But whatever it was, he had 2 big defensive plays, right? And that's also clutch. And people have questioned Zach's defense, but I said, if it's one-on-one defense, if it's on ball, I trust Zach. He's gonna get the job done. And he did that tonight. So yeah. Let's see here. We're looking at clutch use in predictable, because it more truly identifies clutch versus garbage time. Zach stats pre-December 17 normal time and clutch field goal percentage December to present 44 games normal time efficiency field goal percentage 50. Yeah, okay, yeah. See, yeah, his clutch time efficiency field goal percentage went drastically up. Refresh it if you check it, because it's my old link. If you refresh it updates. It's a great shot. Isao Nas was afraid of his drive and didn't come up to him, so he took the shot. Make or miss was a good decision. Had to punish that defensive line. Yeah. So, Box, what exactly are you talking about? Sorry, I'm trying to understand what link you said. Was it this? Are you still here, Box? No, I don't see a link in chat. Oh, it's getting mad. Okay, hold on. Try now. All right, there we go. I can see it. Thank you. All right. All right. So this is the Bulls in their clutch scenarios here. Yeah, I appreciate the garbage and the difference between normal clutch and then clutch 2. Yeah. So yeah, normal clutch. Obviously, we're saying here effective field goal percentage for Zach is very good. Garbage time also, like, and then just in normal clutch moments, we're seeing very good effective field goal percentage for Zach. Now, the biggest thing that it's very interesting to kind of look at this, right? Because we see here that DeMar DeRozan has taken, obviously, and this is what should be the case, right? Between 70, like, these numbers here, like, yeah, it should be going to DeMar DeRozan most of the time, right? But then it's also kind of crazy to see that Kobe White has had a pretty high amount of these sort of big shots, right? So I'm not saying it's bad or anything. I'm just it's interesting to look at. But Yeah, Zach's effective field goal percentage, it's very solid. So again, like I'm aware that Zach has his limitations, and then in the clutch he's had his rough moments. I'm not saying that like Zach's a perfect player in the clutch, but I'm just saying that he has done better than what people have said, right? And I think that the narrative around him is just overall pretty bad. Because you see people on Twitter saying like, "What the hell was that, Zach?" But then you'll see DeMar DeRozan kind of do the same thing, and then they won't say anything, right? And then when Zach makes a big shot, it's like, "Oh my god, what a lucky shot by Zach!" But then when DeMar makes a big shot, it's like, "Oh my god, DeMar DeRozan's the best player ever," right? I'm not taking anything away from DeMar. I think DeMar DeRozan has had a phenomenal year in the clutch again, but um, it just I don't like that sort of like let's cheer for one player and not cheer for the other. So yeah. I think you got to be afraid about Zach and his handles. I get it. Yeah, I am in general with Zach and his handles in the clutch. That's my biggest worry because if there was just a point guard on this team to set him up better, then I wouldn't have to worry about his handles because then he'd just be getting to the spot and then he'd just raise up and shoot. Right? I would feel very comfortable with Zach in the clutch moments if that was all he had to do was just catch the ball and shoot it. But because it's catch the ball and then maybe take a dribble or two and then shoot it. It's because that the Bulls don't have that guy, right? He's then dependent on to play make as well, and it can result in turnovers with him. And again, nothing's called at the end of a game, and he probably gets fouled a decent amount at the end of a game, and it's not just on drives, just in general when he's dribbling. He probably gets fouled, but nothing's gonna get called. So yeah, I've always said with Zach that he does always need to continue to work on his handles. He's gotten better. Like I just remember, a couple years ago where his handles were much worse than what they are today. But if he can seriously work on his handles, then I think we'll be looking at a very very good, very very like top of the league clutch player in the next few seasons, right? If he just works on his handles a bit. But we should know plays that can allow him to move without the ball, get him the ball to shoot in the clutch to exist, right? Oh yeah. I think there even without a point guard, right? There should be plays out there to do that exact thing that you're saying, Box. But we know with Billy Donovan, he doesn't do that, and it drives me insane. I don't. It seriously does mind boggle me where I'm like, come on, like really, Jesus, it just doesn't make any sense. Zach should be executing more of these plays, and we just don't generate nearly enough for him. We expose him more instead of showcasing him. Yeah. That's a good way to put it. Because, again, Zach's strength is scoring the ball, right? His strength is... What is not his strength is playmaking and trying to create that shot off the dribble, right? Zach will be looking like in the Kings or the Warriors, I swear. Yeah, I agree with you. Because... You see with, like, for example, with the Warriors like Klay Thompson, right? They'll run him off of screens in crunch time, and he doesn't have to dribble the ball, but he makes big shots all the time. So it's something to kind of look at moving forward here. I think that this is something that we as Bulls fans need to do a little bit better at understanding player strengths. But yeah, I appreciate this. Box. I'm gonna go ahead and bookmark this so I can come back to this later. Even Herter looks 10 times better than he looked for the Hawks, where they just wanted to trade to do his things. Oh yeah, Kevin Herter looks phenomenal, and I hope that he's doing all right because he did get injured. He injured his hamstring, but yeah, Kevin Herter in crunch time now, he looks tremendous. Or just in general with the Kings offense, he looks so much better. And it's always funny because it's like people in Atlanta's like, why didn't we keep him? I'm like, you guys didn't use him. Like they were like legit afraid to use him, and I'm just like, Jesus, man. Yeah, Herter's a great example of how you can take that player's strengths and use him correctly in your offense, and he looks phenomenal, especially down the stretch of a game. See your players and their strengths and use them accordingly to get 100% out of them. That's the coach's most important freaking job. Yep, and we don't have a coach to do that, unfortunately, because we have a coach that depends on shooting the mid-range shot. Yeah. So it's overall just it's so confusing when it comes to the Wolves because I think with Zach, he'll look a lot better if he just has better plays. In crunch time. So yeah. All right. I appreciate this link box. We'll be referring back to this a lot more later in the future. All right. So that is gonna overall wrap up this stream. Bulls got the double overtime win against Minnesota at home. Crazy game. 49 points for DeMar DeRozan, 39 for Zach, 21 for Vooch, I believe. So the big three straight up carried this team to a victory when everyone else decided on this Bulls team not really to show up. And it's pretty disappointing just to kind of see that. As really, I like legit no one else really showed up in this game, unfortunately. The thing is that because this double OT game happened, I'm concerned about tomorrow. I'm not going to stream tomorrow. Just by the way, I am still in the middle of finals. I was able to get a ton done, but I still have one more to do. So tomorrow there will be no stream. But Bulls take on the Heat on Saturday, and this is an overall concerning game for me because we just played a double OT game and Miami is fresh. So I think the Bulls are kind of set up for an L in this one, but we'll see. Miami's had their struggles this season, and the Bulls have also beat Miami this season. So we're gonna see about this game, but I'm looking forward to this game. Yeah. Let's see here. So hold on, Box. I'm trying to catch up here. Blah, blah, blah. But can we bring this up for real? It's not like colleges got salary caps. If you get the best overall talent, you probably just win. Yeah. If you ever have enough spare time, do me a favor and check a Euro player. Sasha Vezenkov. Power forward, mostly moves, off ball, great shooter, and good rebounder. He is number one in the MVP race for this EuroLeague season. Draft rights owned by the Kings. Interesting. I'll definitely check him out. There was a guy that I was pretty high on. Maybe the Bulls could get right. Is it Misic? Yeah. This was a guy that I thought could have like filled in at the point guard position, kind of knowing that Lonzo is going to be out, right? But it would require a trade to get him as well. I just thought it would have been worth it, but yeah, I am kind of checking in a little bit on Euro players. I'm not. I'll just say this: I will check in on March Madness. I'm not the biggest March Madness watcher. So I'm not really up to date with like the best talent. I'm aware of Victor Wembanyama, obviously, but for upcoming drafts, I'm not really the best with that. But EuroLeague stuff and overseas players, I definitely like checking them out. So yeah, I'll definitely check out. I'm gonna put his name in already. Sasha Vezenkov. EuroLeague stuff. Very cool. I'll go ahead and bookmark this right now, but this is who Box wants me to check out. This is who he is as a player. And apparently the Kings have his rights. Yeah. All right, I'll definitely check that out, Box. I appreciate this a lot, and I appreciate what you've how you contributed to the stream. For now, Box, I think I'm gonna let you. I'll let you keep the moderator status. But I am kind of working out with some people with mods. Who's gonna be a mod in my channel? But for now, I know we haven't talked about it yet, but I'll let you keep the mod status for now. All right? Does that sound cool? I had to let you I had to let you have the mod status so I can see the link that you wanted to send me. So yeah, I'll let you have that mod status for now. All right, I appreciate that a lot. As always, guys, appreciate you guys hanging out with me tonight. Big Bulls win. I really was impressed to see this Bulls win when a lot of things were going not their way, even though the Timberwolves had some bad luck too. So yeah, no stream tomorrow. We'll see if the Bulls can be winning against Miami Heat. That'd be a humongous win, but I'm just in general just expecting an L, unfortunately, because again, double OT game into then a back-to-back. But then after that, the Bulls take on Philly, so it is not looking easy the next 3 games for us. But no stream tomorrow, so I'm gonna get some rest and work on a lot of stuff. But thank you, Magugla, again for being here, and thank you for the good luck on the finals, because I do need the good luck. Unfortunately, it's been a lot of work. All right, appreciate you guys hanging out with me tonight. I'll see y'all in the next one. Peace, y'all.